Chapter 1678. The fact that the 5 revolutions marrow pill could be refined has been personally admitted by Yang Chen. All parties were shocked and began to re-examine Yang Chen. Generally speaking, in the mortal world, if Yang Chen said that he could refine the 5 revolutions marrow pill, then no one would not believe it. Unfortunately, this was the spiritual world, and the difficulty of the 5 revolutions marrow pill was too high. Even if Yang Chen's wives and concubines completely believed it, but before they saw the real thing, those masters were still not completely sure. Regarding Yang Chen, the sect also had different reactions. In the mortal world, the Green Jade Immortal Island and Blue Cloud sect, who had the longest relationship with Yang Chen, were all acquaintances, and they completely believed in Yang Chen's word. The Qiankuan sect and the 5 Elements sect were dubious. Surprisingly, the Profound Heaven sect, which should have been the most suspicious of Yang Chen, this time turned out to be on the side of the Green Jade Immortal Island and Blue Cloud sect, and they believed in Yang Chen's word. Yang Chen has always insisted that he was still a 5th-grade alchemist master, which was the biggest obstacle. There were still some people who couldn't fully believe that a 5th-grade alchemist master could refine the 5 revolutions marrow pill. Shi Wushuang and the Murong sisters were very ashamed in front of their husband. The people in their own sect actually doubted their husband's ability, which made them very embarrassed. "It's none of your business." Yang Chen smiled and comforted the women. The 5 Elements sect and the Qiankuan sect did not have much contact, so it was normal not to have that kind of trust. The way the Green Jade Immortal Island, Blue Cloud sect and the Profound Heaven sect expressed their trust was to order the 5 revolutions marrow pill at 5 times the price of the last auction, and they even prepared their own medicinal materials. A large pile of medicinal materials and crystal stones were placed directly in front of Yang Chen. They had cooperated with each other in the mortal world, so Yang Chen didn't say much. He asked Gao Yu and Gong Sunling to take care of the sect, and he immediately retreated to refine pills. Since the people of the 5 great sect were all here, no one would dare to cause trouble here. It had been almost 15 years since he first refined the 5 revolution marrow deepening pill. Some of the details were carefully controlled, and it took him a lot of time. However, he was much more proficient in the second refinement. In less than 10 years, Yang Chen easily came out of seclusion. There were a total of 65 revolutions marrow refining pills. The Blue Cloud sect of the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Profound Heaven sect each had 15. As for the remaining 15, Yang Chen's wives and concubines each had 1, and Yang Chen kept 4 for himself. The representatives of the 5 Elements sect and the Qiankuan sect were dumbfounded. Obviously, they didn't get a share of the cake this time. They could only watch the people of the other 3 sects return to the sect happily with the elixirs, while they got nothing. It was not really nothing. Yang Chen would not make it difficult for Shi Wushuang and the Murong sisters, so they each got the remaining 2. However, it was all through Shi Wushuang and the Murong sisters. The representatives of the sect did not even touch them. They actually got the elixir. At this point, everyone no longer doubted that Yang Chen could refine the 5 revolutions marrow refining pill. As for why Yang Chen could refine the 5 revolutions marrow refining pill with only the strength of a 5th-grade alchemist master, it could only be said that Yang Chen was an evildoer. Just like the students in the 3rd year of junior high school may be able to do the math problems in the 1st year of junior high school, but some evildoers in the 1st year of junior high school could also do it. This was not beyond the scope of people's cognition. To put it bluntly, it was still the same sentence. It was natural for a 5th-grade alchemist master to refine a 5 revolutions pill. This time, Yang Chen did not refine the appearance pill. The female representatives of the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect only returned to the sect with an ambiguous answer from Yang Chen. In any case, it was enough that the important things were not left behind. Yang Chen once again proved his evildoer with fact. It took at least 15 years for the 7th-grade alchemist master of each sect to refine the 5 revolutions marrow refining pill. Yang Chen only took less than 10 years. This alone was enough to make people look forward to his future. After sending away the representatives of the 5 major sect, Yang Chen saw a figure he did not expect in Chunyang Palace. Elder Wu Xiong, who first refined the heaven-seizing pill in the mortal world, actually appeared in front of Yang Chen. Elder Wu Xiong arrived at Chunyang Palace a few years ago. With the guidance of Yang Chen, Elder Wu Xiong ascended 1,000 years ago. He was a rogue cultivator and did not belong to any sect. After ascending, he directly found an idle immortal's cave according to the location Yang Chen said. He spent hundreds of years cultivating and refining. Recently, he was in retreat for a long time to break through the realm. After he came out, he heard about Chunyang Palace and Yang Chen, so he rushed to Chunyang Palace without saying anything. This old man has no sect. I plan to join Chunyang Palace. I don't know if the young palace master can take me in? Wu Xiong faced Yang Chen, and as soon as he came up, he smiled and teased him while expressing his intentions. Elder Wu is willing to join Chunyang Palace. My sect is honored. Yang Chen was overjoyed. The arrival of Elder Wu Xiong could solve Yang Chen's big problem. He could not ask for more. Elder Wu Xiong came to Chunyang Palace not on a whim, but after careful consideration. The spiritual realm was a place of fierce competition. Although Yang Chen had earned such a big foundation for Chunyang Palace in less than 100 years after his ascension, before Yang Chen ascended, the head of the palace had not been able to settle down for hundreds of years. As a rogue cultivator, without the support of the sect, it was very difficult to achieve rapid development in the spiritual realm. Even with Elder Wu Xiong's wide circle of friends in the mortal world, there was no better opportunity. There were a lot of people he knew, but they had just ascended. They could not speak in the sect. Wu Xiong's life was not easy. Wu Xiong heard a lot about Chunyang Palace after he came out. After some consideration, Wu Xiong still chose to join Chunyang Palace. On the one hand, Chunyang Palace was now under Yang Chen's control, needless to say the relationship. On the other hand, Wu Xiong was now at the Earth Immortal level, and joining Chunyang Palace would only be valued. Soon, Chunyang Palace had one more elder to temporarily help deal with the affairs of the sect. In this regard, Elder Wu Xiong was much more experienced than Yang Chen. During the absence of the head of the palace, Elder Wu Xiong managed the sect in an orderly manner. In addition to Elder Wu Xiong, Lan Ying also returned to Chunyang Palace with the replies of her friends. If they were still hesitant before, when they heard the news that Yang Chen could refine the 5 revolutions marrow pill, they no longer hesitated and were willing to join Chunyang Palace. This time, there were hundreds of people scattered all over the place, with different levels of cultivation. To be honest, Yang Chen did not look forward to the loyalty of these people. Even Yang Chen did not intend to directly receive these people into Chunyang Palace. Even if Chunyang Palace was not strong now, it was not a place where cats and dogs could join if they wanted to. To join, one must have a sense of identity and belonging to Chunyang Palace. Of course, the most important thing was loyalty. Elder Wu Xiong appeared at the right time to help Yang Chen solve this problem. Chapter 1679. Yang Chen did not consider these people before, but the timing of these people's appearance was also good. It was when Yang Chen's plan needed manpower. For the sake of Lan Ying's face, Yang Chen could arrange a way out for them, but there were conditions. I can give you a way out, but the condition is that you must pay loyalty. Yang Chen said his conditions unceremoniously in front of the representatives of Lan Ying's friends. At least until you get my trust, you can only be the outer disciples of Chunyang Palace. What is the way out, you said? The strong guy, who was obviously from the monster clan, did not show his fierceness at the moment, but frowned and asked. Chunyang Palace has a business in the mortal world, called Wanbao Tower. Yang Chen did not hide it and directly said his plan. I want to reorganize Wanbao Tower in the spiritual world. You will be the first group of people in Wanbao Tower. However, this is only a superficial arrangement. I know that you are not good at this, so in private, you need to help me do another thing. What is it? Several fierce monster clans were very easygoing. Everyone was still in the negotiation stage, so any requirements were put on the surface. If the negotiation failed, it would not hurt the friendship. If the business failed, there would be benevolence and righteousness. I heard that you are all well-informed masters. Yang Chen smiled and said slowly, I don't know if you are interested in setting up an organization to buy and sell information? The eyes of several monster clans lit up. After they ascended, they had basically been fighting alone. Later, because everyone had interests, they slowly formed such a loose organization that was not an organization. Under some pressure, they looked for Chunyang Palace for protection. But now that Yang Chen put forward such an idea, everyone had doubts in their hearts. When the monster clan was in the mortal world, except for their own immersion in cultivation, they never thought about these things. It was not until Chunyang Palace had a hall of eccentrics that the sect began to recruit monster clan disciples. These demons had ascended relatively early, so they didn't catch up with this wave. They were still used to occupying a territory in the spiritual realm and doing things their own way. In the past, they didn't realize what it meant for them to be so well informed. However, after interacting with cultivators for a long time, they knew a little about it. It's just that they never thought about it. With Yang Chen's nudge, everyone immediately had an idea. Yang Chen's proposal was actually a copy of the Wine Immortal House in the mortal world. With the Wine Immortal House, the Chunyang Palace in the mortal world had never failed to receive news. Chunyang Palace's eyes and ears had never been separated from Chunyang Palace. The rapid and stable development of Chunyang Palace was inseparable from the strong support of Wine Immortal House. Now Senior Wine Immortal has not ascended yet. Even if he ascended, he is also a rogue cultivator. Without the support of the organization, it is obviously impossible to set up a Wine Immortal House in the spiritual world immediately. However, with these guys as the foundation, it wouldn't be too difficult to temporarily establish a small intelligence organization. For the time being, you will be sheltered in Wanbao Tower. On the surface, you will do business honestly, wash away the previous reputation of being a thief, and make a small profit. In the future, when Wanbao Tower expands, you can smoothly go to all places. Yang Chen went on to describe, as long as you can get news, whoever gets the news will benefit, and it will also be beneficial to sell it. After we cooperate happily in the future, you can consider joining Chunyang Palace. How about it? Sounds good. One of the 6th grade Earth immortal tiger beasts nodded and suddenly asked, if this is the case, who has the final say in Wanbao Tower? This time, without waiting for Yang Chen to answer, Lan had already directly answered the question for Yang Chen. Of course, Chunyang Palace has the final say. Do you still intend to take the lead? It was true that the guys who came were Lan Ying's friends, but they were only limited to the friends who dealt with stolen goods on weekdays. After Lan Ying saw the power of Gao Yu and Gong Sunling, she was completely biased towards Yang Chen and Chunyang Palace. Now, these guys obviously listened to Yang Chen's plan, and they still wanted to take matters into their own hands. How could Lan Ying agree? It must be known that these guys could have this opportunity because Yang Chen gave Lan Ying face. If these guys succeeded because of this, how could Lan Ying appear in front of Yang Chen? Is there any manpower in Chunyang Palace now? Tiger Beasts did not directly answer Lan Ying's question, but asked, can they control the situation outside? There are a few Earth Immortal Masters and Sky Immortal Masters, and the disciples of Chunyang Palace, can they convince people? When asking these questions, Tiger Beast's face had a somewhat playful expression. They had also learned about the current situation of Chunyang Palace before they came here. Even if Yang Chen could get the support of all parties, doing business could not always rely on the protection of others. They always had to show their own strength. In the current situation of Chunyang Palace, on the surface, there were really few masters who could be sent out. All the disciples with human immortal cultivation went out to do business. As long as they left the Sunset Rock, they would definitely be suppressed. Even if there are a few who can be sent out, why should we brothers submit to others? The other one next to him seemed to specialize in playing the red face. His cultivation had reached the peak of the earth immortal realm. He slowly walked forward with a slightly oppressive posture. He stared at Yang Chen and waited for Yang Chen's answer. Lan Ning was furious and was about to speak, but she was stopped by Yang Chen, who asked with a smile, "What do you think? Our monster clan is not as cunning as you human beings. It's simple. There are only 6 of us. As long as 6 people from Chunyang Palace come out and can beat our brothers, we will be obedient." The guy who just spoke put on a look of consideration for Chunyang Palace and said with a smile, "If the 6 of you can't win, then don't blame us brothers. You can't handle the situation, but there must be someone who can handle the situation, right? It's that simple?" Yang Chen seemed to be unable to believe it and confirmed. "It's that simple." Tiger Beasts answered Yang Chen with the same affirmation. Then, the 6 of them burst into laughter. Speaking of which, among the 6 monster clans, the strongest was a 1st-grade Heaven Immortal, and the weakest was a 5th-grade Earth Immortal. At present, the strongest in Chunyang Palace was only a 6th-grade Earth Immortal, Longxian, who was not in the sect. In their view, even if they lost to Longxian, it was only one game. If they won the other 5 games, they would still be the winner. "If you want to go back on your word after the fight." Yang Chen did not say much, but said this in a suspicious tone. "Don't worry, once a word is said, it can't be taken back." Tiger Beast said on behalf of the others, "If you are really worried, we can make a great oath of the Heart Demon." Chapter 1680. Lan Ning was definitely a person with good eyesight, otherwise, she would not be so loyal to Yang Chen's side from her so-called friends. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling, whichever one of them came out, it was estimated that they could deal with a 5th-grade Earth Immortal or 6th-grade Earth Immortal. Yang Chen himself was so fierce that it was not a problem to deal with one. If Longxian was counted, then there would be 4, and they would definitely win. Even if the other party had a 1st-grade Heaven Immortal Master, so what? Winning a game could not reverse their failure. These guys jumped out to die, and no one could help them. Lan Ning had already planned to look on coldly and watch these guys get unlucky. To Lan Ying's surprise, Yang Chen did not intend to do it himself, but gestured to Gao Yu. Gao Yu sneered and turned to leave. In a short time, she came in with 20 people. These people who came in were all human cultivators. Their cultivation bases were different, but there was a very obvious characteristic. All of them had cold eyes, but they would not act at will, but they gave people a feeling of extreme danger, as if they would suddenly explode in the next moment. Don't say that I bully you, according to your cultivation base. Each of you will choose a person with the same cultivation base. If Chunyang Palace loses, you will win. At this time, Yang Chen finally revealed his gentle face and tough means. If you win, I will pay for the Wanbao Tower's capital and goods. If we lose, we will be your Wanbao Tower's people. They had just said that they would make a heart demon oath. Of course, the 6 guys could not change their words in front of them, but their faces were not as relaxed as before. All of them looked at the people opposite them with great caution. These 20 masters were the group of killers that Elderly had prepared for Yang Chen that year. They only recognized the token and not the person. Before Yang Chen went into retreat, he sent people to leave secret records everywhere. When Yang Chen came out of retreat, this group of masters had already arrived, waiting for Yang Chen's instructions. Yang Chen's order was very simple. They had to join Chunyang Palace and help Elder Wu Xiong support the entire Wanbao Tower. Of course, his current order was to beat up these 6 guys who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. An assassin was also a human being. Even if they had gone through cruel training to achieve their current skills, they might still instinctively feel tired of the life of an assassin. By allowing them to join Wanbao Tower, Yang Chen was actually giving them the capital to settle down without risking their lives to assassinate masters in the future. Whether it was from the perspective of obeying orders or from the perspective of their own hearts, they were all willing to live a relatively stable life. The 6 monster cultivators did not expect that there would really be a group of masters in the Pure Yang Palace, and there were still masters in all stages of cultivation. This was completely different from what they had learned before, and the abnormal situation made them a little nervous. However, things had already come to this, and they were the ones who brought it up first, so they could no longer back down. "It seems like you guys aren't very well informed." Yang Chen shook his head and said with a little dissatisfaction, "You didn't even find out in time that there are so many masters in Chunyang Palace. In the future, you still need to practice carefully." 6 killers were selected, each person dealt with 1. After getting Yang Chen's ruthless lesson, the 6 people, in addition to not killing, used other means incisively and vividly. Not long ago, they were still arrogant, thinking that they had grasped the shortcomings of Chunyang Palace and could take the initiative. In particular, the organization that ran the information business was just right for them. In addition, Yang Chen wanted to support Wanbao Tower. As long as he provided a certain number of elixirs, it would be enough for them to support a force. But now, all their dreams had become empty. The 20 masters on the opposite side, who were not easy to get along with, had their eyes focused on them. The opponents they had chosen for themselves were staring at them with a kind of cold and slightly cruel eyes, waiting for them to make a move. Their momentum had been completely suppressed. At this point, these ferocious fellows were also stimulated by their ferocious nature. Now they did not think about winning or losing, but how to teach these arrogant guys a good lesson. The demon tribe masters, who had been stimulated, were piled up with the human masters who had killed their way out of the mountains of corpses and seas of blood. 6 rooms that appeared out of thin air separated the 6 pairs of opponents, and no one could see the situation inside. Even Elder Wu Xiong wanted to know the details, but found that his spiritual awareness could not penetrate those houses. It was not only Elder Wu Xiong who was surprised, but even the new assassins were the same, but they did not show it on their faces. When did these rooms appear? How did they appear? Even the fairy Immortal assassin with the highest cultivation did not find it. How many trump cards did Chunyang Palace have that they had not shown? Wu Xiong, Lan Ning, and the assassins did not ask this question, they just waited quietly. The contest between the 2 sides did not last for a long time. In less than 2 hours, the room in front of everyone suddenly turned into a large group of brightly colored flying insects. After flying in front of everyone for a while, it slowly disappeared. During this period, a vast, mountain-like aura pressed heavily on the top of everyone's head. The feeling of danger filled everyone's mind. Even the arrogant Lan Ning, in front of this aura, did not dare to move a little, for fear of causing the owner of that aura to misunderstand. "Old bug, everyone is just competing, don't be nervous." Yang Chen's words broke the silence, all the insects disappeared instantly, and the aura returned to normal. The 6 assassins did not let Yang Chen down. The 6 guys who were lying on the ground and could not get up represented the victory of their mission. The 6 guys lying on the ground, who had planned to take advantage of them not long ago, were now all black and blue. The injuries on their bodies were not serious, but their faces were full of panic, which fully showed that the appearance of Old Bug had shocked them. Snap! A loud snapping sound awakened the 6 demons who were immersed in fear. Their bodies could not move because of the pain, but their eyes turned to Yang Chen, who made the sound. "Elder Wu will be the shopkeeper of Wanbao Tower, and you will be his assistants. Do you have any objections?" Yang Chen looked down at the 6 guys who had completely failed and asked with a smile. No. Although the tiger demon was unwilling, he could only accept this arrangement. The 20 assassins next to them were still eyeing them, and there was also Old Bug in the dark, who could not be seen through at all. The Tiger Demon and the others did not even dare to think of a little resistance. Very good. Yang Chen nodded with satisfaction. In another year, Wanbao Tower will open. Before that, I want to see all of you. If anyone is dissatisfied, let them try. Chapter 1681. This time, Yang Chen's alchemy took a few years, and after a few years, it happened to be the time of the 100-year appointment with the disciples of Chunyang Palace in the mortal world. The palace master and Wang Yong had already rushed back to the sect to take charge. Meng Xian, Hall Master Meng personally rushed to the reception town, waiting to receive the newly ascended disciples. Chunyang Palace was not what it used to be, even if its strength was still weak, but with Yang Chen's reputation, it was enough to let Chunyang Palace have a place in the reception town. With the elders in the sect, Yang Chen took Gao Yu and Gong Sunling to the sea again for a leisurely reunion for a period of time. Only in the Dragon Palace on the back of Long Xian, Yang Chen would feel that he was really relaxed. Long Xian was now unwilling to let any building appear on his back, except for the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace had the pure dragon aura, which made Long Xian feel very comfortable. This was related to his current Swanee bloodline. In addition to that, there was another reason, that is, the Dragon Palace belonged to Yang Chen. Yang Chen's merit was now on the back of Long Xian, and the current cultivation was not a general comfort. With the increase of Long Xian's cultivation, the merit that the merit steel could carry would be more and more. At any time, as long as Yang Chen came over, the first thing was to fill the merit on the merit steel. The merit steel was full, plus he was climbing on top of a celestial-grade spiritual vein. Such a huge spiritual vein was only for Long Xian to absorb. Even if he couldn't absorb it, he could use it to nourish his body naturally. In addition, there was also the Dragon Clan's cultivation method. Under such conditions, if Long Xian's cultivation did not soar, it would be too unreasonable. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling of course liked the unrestrained life with their husband. In the Dragon Palace, there was still some space that was not spacious enough. Gong Sunling simply released the ship and slowly drifted on the sea. The family of 3 was leisurely fishing and enjoying themselves. Yang Chen was lying on the deck chair, enjoying his fishing life. Beside his feet was a fishing rod, and beside him was a small jade table. On top of it was a wine flask made of warm jade, and next to it was a small jade cup. 4 fish dishes cooked by Gong Sunling were within reach. With his head resting on Gao Yu's thigh, Yang Chen didn't need to do anything at all. As long as he opened his mouth, a slender jade hand would pick up a seemingly delicate small fish and send it to Yang Chen's mouth. Gong Sunling laid on Yang Chen's stomach more comfortably. Yang Chen's big hand gently stroked Gong Sunling's pretty face. The 3 of them did not speak, but their hearts rippled with waves of warmth and tranquility. A comfortable and contented life made people happier than arduous cultivation. With the 5-turn marrow pill, the girls didn't need to maintain a state of cultivation all the time. The medicinal effect of the pill would naturally drive the spirit power to seek pleasure, and there would be more time. What a killjoy! Happy days were always very short. Before Yang Chen had enjoyed enough, he noticed that there were unwelcome guests. After saying that, Yang Chen helped Gong Sunling up and stood up himself. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling were very unhappy. The family of 3 was clearly living a comfortable life, but they were abruptly interrupted by uninvited guests. No one was happy. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures directly penetrated the bottom of the sea with a wild splash and rushed to the deck of the ship, bringing up a large splash. "Didn't you say that if I was dissatisfied I would come to you?" The guy who looked very fierce came up and shouted straightforwardly, "I am not satisfied. You want me to be a waiter for a junior like you? In your dreams." The other 2 guys who followed up did not speak, but the expressions on their faces had clearly expressed a similar meaning. 3 monster cultivators, one was in the 6th grade of the Earth Immortal, and the other two were in the third grade of the Earth Immortal. They were fierce and murderous. At first glance, they were not good people. These were also a few of Lan Ying's friends. It was estimated that after the tiger monster went back, the news brought back was not to their liking. The masters of the fairy immortal level were defeated in Chunyang Palace, so they did not dare to go to Chunyang Palace to behave atrociously. It just so happened that Yang Chun and Gao Yugong Sunling were on the sea. The three guys were all monsters in the sea. They immediately took advantage of this opportunity to find Yang Chun. If you want to follow me, come to me. If you don't want to do it, you can do whatever you want. I won't force you. In Yang Chen's tone, there was not much dissatisfaction, but a little lazy tone. There were no provocative words in his words, but he clearly stated his requirement. If you have any requirements, go and talk to Lanning yourself. Don't disturb us husband and wife. At this point, Yang Chen did not intend to say too much. This was for the sake of Lan Ying's face. Yang Chen did not intend to pursue the rudeness of the three guys. At such a young age, you have only ascended for a few days. How dare you brag so shamelessly? The monster in the middle was a whale shark demon with a fiery temper. He shouted loudly. I don't want to do it at all, but I still want to teach you, this junior who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If you are sensible, kowtow and call me senior, I will let your family go. The two strong men behind the whale shark, both with their hands crossed over their chests, did not say a word and looked coldly. However, the undisguised fierceness in the eyes of the two seemed to indicate a lot of problems. I'm curious, if I am not sensible, how will you not let my family go? Yang Chen's face did not change in the slightest, as if he was very curious and asked. It seems that I didn't force you to come to Chunyang Palace, did I? I didn't agree to this matter back then, and I still don't agree now. On this point, the whale shark could not blame Yang Chen no matter what. However, it did not mean that he could not take out his anger on Yang Chen's head. If you are not sensible, I and my brothers will kill your family, and then find an opportunity to destroy your Chunyang Palace. From then on, we brothers will still be free, and will never have to bear the filthy anger of you juniors. If that's the case, then there is nothing to say. Yang Chun shook his head slightly. However, before we start, I have something that I haven't said for a long time. I will give you this opportunity. The whale shark trio already felt that victory was in their grasp, and were not afraid of Yang Chun, Gao Yu, and Gong Sunling, these three juniors making a comeback. They laughed very generously. If you are done, then go on your way with peace of mind. I haven't said this for a long time. The figure of Xiao Tian had already appeared in Yang Chen's hand. In front of everyone, Xiao Tian's mouth slowly spat out the blade of the beheading immortal blade, and Yang Chen's voice also began to sound. Every injustice has its perpetrator, every debt has its debtor. You want to destroy my family, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Chapter 1682. This was the mantra of the executioner. Yang Chun hadn't said it for a long time. Generally speaking, when this sentence was said, it meant that Yang Chun would not accept this cause and effect. Although Yang Chun would say it a long time ago, even if he accepted the cause and effect, Yang Chun gradually omitted this step. When he killed the two people of the Zhao family, Yang Chun didn't say this. The matter with the Zhao family was definitely irreconcilable. Yang Chun never thought about evading this cause and effect, so there was no need to say this. When he killed the people of the Profound Heaven sect, Yang Chun rarely said it. It was the hatred accumulated in 2 lives. Yang Chun would never not accept the cause and effect. Now Yang Chun was on the sea, or to be more precise, Yang Chun was directly above the Black Tortoise. When Yang Chen's heart was filled with killing intent, he suddenly noticed that there seemed to be a slight movement on the Merit Monument. At this time, Yang Chun couldn't see what changes there were, but his heart was slightly moved, and he said the mantra that seemed to have been forgotten for a long time. Ha 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 ha! Yang Chen's solemn words did not make the three strong monster race men on the opposite side vigilant or careful, but it caused a burst of crazy laughter. The three of them were convulsing with laughter, and they almost couldn't stop. If this was said by Lan Ning, maybe the three of them would have a little idea, but it was just a third-grade human immortal junior who said these words, and two beautiful women who were also only third-grade human immortal. This situation was like three ants threatening three elephants, and it was a death threat. How could it not make people laugh? I just wanted to teach you a lesson, but I changed my mind. The whale shark man finally stopped laughing, and a long stick full of spikes suddenly appeared in his hand. He sneered and said, "You're dead. Also, your two women look good. We have never tasted the taste of human race female cultivators. After you die, we will definitely take good care of them." These guys were originally the masters of murder and arson. It could be said that they were all unscrupulous bad guys. Even if there were smart people who could see that he was in trouble and wanted to find someone to rely on to slowly clear his name, the list of smart people definitely didn't include these three. Seeing how beautiful Gao Yu and Gong Sunling were, Whale Shark said these words casually. The pretty faces of Gao Yu and Gong Sunling on the opposite side were already cold to the extreme. But he soon returned to normal. "Yang Chen, I found that if Ling's ship is wrapped in shark skin, it will be much faster. Remember to peel off more." At this time, Gao Yu did not call Yang Chen husband, but directly called him by his name. Obviously, she ordered him as a master. "Husband, I want to make you braised shark's fin tonight. Don't waste the ingredients." Gong Sunling shouted from behind, unwilling to be outdone. The two women simultaneously set their sights on the whale shark's body. Whether it was the whale shark's skin or the whale shark's fin, they had to get it from the whale shark's body anyway. The other party was already courting death, and now, it couldn't be any more thoroughly dead. A long bell rang. Yang Chen's figure had already shot out like lightning. Man and blade as one, he chopped down at whale shark's head. Earth Immortal experts didn't find it particularly difficult to deal with the disturbance of the bell. Apart from the long and continuous sound of the bell, it basically didn't have much of an impact on them. The three of them attacked at the same time, but in different directions. Whale Shark was already holding a long spiked staff in his hand, and he met Yang Chen's immortal beheading blade head-on. The two beside him had the demeanor of a grandmaster. They crossed their arms in front of their chests and jumped back. It was already very embarrassing for an Earth Immortal expert to fight a human Immortal Junior one-on-one. If three of them ganged up on one, then the shame would be enough to cover the entire sea of hatred. Even if they had the moral character of killing and robbing, they still had to be persistent at times. The two of them definitely wouldn't do something so shameful. Moreover, Whale Shark wasn't willing to let them share his fun. The two of them had just retreated when they saw an extremely unbelievable scene. Their expressions instantly became exceptionally interesting. The spiked staff and immortal beheading blade collided, and a large patch of spikes was directly cut off. Dozens of tiny spikes were directly detached from the staff, and the side of the staff that came into contact with the immortal beheading blade became extremely smooth. This was the result of Whale Shark using a technique and directly using the spikes to meet the blade. If he had been careless and used the Overlord lifting the cauldron, he might have been directly cut into two. Even so, although Whale Shark had dodged the blade of the immortal beheading blade, he couldn't avoid Yang Chen's strength. An enormous and uncontrollable force came from the point where the immortal beheading blade and the spiked staff collided. Whale Shark could no longer hold on to the staff. The staff flew out of his hand and stabbed straight into the sea, instantly disappearing without a trace. As the staff left his hands, two strange sounds came from Whale Shark's wrists. Then, his two arms were twisted at a frightening angle. Snow-white broken bones pierced out of his arms along with dark red blood. It was a hair-raising sight. Without waiting for the Whale Shark to scream, Yang Chen's other hand had already clenched his fist, and a heavy punch hit the Whale Shark's body. Whale Shark's figure directly became like an arrow that had been released from a bow, directly plunging into the sea at an incredible speed. After all this happened, the two of them had truly retreated to the position they had planned beforehand. Seeing this, the two of them no longer cared about their demeanor or anything else. They simultaneously pulled out their life-bound magic treasures. Each of them let out a strange cry and rushed toward Yang Chen. A blade light flashed and a head flew into the sky. Blood spurted out wildly and the corpse fell limply from the sky. At the same time as the blade light flashed, another flying sword flashed. The flying sword slashed at Yang Chen's shoulder without the slightest hindrance. It was only a little bit away from his neck. Unfortunately, the scene of Yang Chen's 6 young chiefs' head flying like his comrades did not happen. Yang Chen didn't even bother to move. He stood on the spot and received the attack. The immortal beheading blade in his hand did not hesitate to cut off his comrade's head. At this point, no one was a fool. How could the lucky survivor not see the situation before him? Without saying anything else, he didn't even bother retrieving his life-bound magic treasure and flew toward the surface of the sea. As long as he could enter the sea, with his background in the sea, escaping should be a piece of cake. Bang! The burly man plunged headfirst into the sea. Instead of plunging into the sea, he collided with an incomparably large claw. The giant claw casually squeezed and crushed him into a bloody pulp. You heard it just now. You and Ah Ling want shark skin and shark fins. Don't forget to prepare them. Without even looking, Yang Chen instructed the owner of the giant claw. Chapter 1683. Long Xian was very obedient and nimble. The first whale shark's body that Yang Chen threw out of the water was already under his control. After a while, the shark skin that Gao Yu wanted and the shark fin that Gong Sunling wanted appeared in front of the two women, which made them very satisfied. These guys couldn't believe that they, 3 Earth Immortal experts, would die in the hands of a third-grade human Immortal Junior. However, when the blade reached the body, it was too late to regret. Some things were destined to be irreversible. Gong Sunling didn't break her promise. That night, Yang Chen enjoyed a delicious braised shark fin with Jing Hu and Fatty Jing in the Conch underwater mansion. That kind of taste almost made Fatty Jing's eyes pop out. After asking about the raw materials, he couldn't wait to go out and sweep the sea of hatred and kill all the shark demons to hunt for shark fins. For a long time after that, Yang Chen and his 2 wives went boating on the sea and fishing, but there was no one who didn't open their eyes. It seemed that only those 3 were unconvinced, and no one else came to the door. During this time, Gao Yu really refined the whale shark's skin and integrated it into the bottom of the ship. As Gao Yu said, after this refining, the speed of the ship had greatly increased, and even surpassed Yang Chen's shuttle in the water. The degree of stability was also greatly improved. People on the ship could hardly feel any ups and downs, and the degree of comfort was greatly increased. Of course, more importantly, with this tough skin of the Earth Immortal level demon, the defense of the ship also increased. The attack of an ordinary Earth Immortal level might not be able to break the defense of the ship. Although the whale shark was only at the level of the middle stage Earth Immortal, its defense was extremely strong. No one harassed them anymore. After enjoying a period of leisure time with his 2 lovely wives, Yang Chen returned to Chunyang Palace again. In the following days, Yang Chen did not go out. He still stayed in the sect and planned to quietly refine elixirs. The 5 revolution marrow pill was a good thing. It was good for the body, good for cultivation, and most importantly, it was good for improving Yang Chen's alchemy experience. That was not all. When refining the 5 revolution marrow deepening pill, he could also solve the problem of his divine scent. He did not have to spend so much effort to unseal a certain expert. In his previous life, Yang Chen had never refined such a complicated elixir. Even with his almighty immortal cultivation and the strength of a 6th-grade alchemist, he could only look at the elixir recipe in awe. Not to mention anything else, Just the cooperation of dozens of fire seeds was enough to make him lose his temper in his previous life. Now that he had a chance to start over in this life, Yang Chen would certainly not let it go. Now, he could no longer rely on his past achievements. Yang Chen could only work hard to improve his alchemy level in order to maintain his advantage and let himself stand at the peak of the alchemy world. If it was anyone else who had the Laojun elixir scripture, they would probably have the same idea. Whether it was alchemy or refining, the Laojun was the best. Although he taught Yang Chen the universe treasure-raising secret art, it was not a real refining technique. It was just a method to maintain the magic weapon for a long time. What was really passed on to Yang Chen was the alchemy technique with the Laojun elixir scripture as the core. At the same time, the 5-revolution marrow pill was also an exclusive product prepared by Yang Chen for Wanbao Tower. It could greatly enhance the competitiveness of Wanbao Tower. Wanbao Tower had already begun preparations. The best areas of Sunset Rock were all assigned to Wanbao Tower. Except for the lack of core competitive goods, they had sufficient manpower and their strength was considered medium. Coupled with the convenience of being a landlord, it could be said that everything was ready. With the accompaniment of his 2 wives, Yang Chen directly retreated in the Dragon Palace and began to refine the 5-revolution marrow pill. It was the same Yun marrow pill, but Yang Chen was not only satisfied with repeated refining, but also intentionally increased the difficulty when refining. The simplest way to increase the difficulty was to increase the number of refining at a time. Yang Chen's profound spirit furnace now basically did not limit the number of medicinal pills refined at the same time. Yang Chen also increased the number of 5-revolution marrow pills to 200 at one time. For other ordinary alchemy masters, not to mention anything else, just the raw materials for refining so many Yun marrow pills were enough to make them bankrupt. Not only that, once there was a small mistake in the middle, all these medicinal materials would be burned and turned into a group of coke. Ordinary alchemy masters would never refine so many medicinal pills at the same time, so as to avoid unnecessary losses. Only Yang Chen had such financial resources and courage. When he was determined to improve his alchemy level, even if he had to pay a higher price, Yang Chen was willing to do so. If he didn't challenge this alchemy process beyond his own level, he would only refine medicinal pills that he was sure of. His own alchemy level would never be improved. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling didn't know about this. They just naturally accompanied their husband and protected him. Yang Chen never let them worry about other things, as long as he cultivated wholeheartedly. 205th grade marrow accumulating pills, placed in the top alchemy master, was not a small challenge, and Yang Chen was still a 5th grade alchemy master. If someone knew that he was challenging this difficulty, he didn't know how many people's jaws would drop. This alchemy took 20 years. Under Yang Chen's full concentration, the first batch of 205 revolution marrow pills was finally barely completed after several small dangers. In the end, there were more than 140 finished Yun marrow pills, and the success rate reached more than 70%. In the second batch of 200 medicinal pills, after Yang Chen learned the previous lesson, he successfully refined more than 195 revolution marrow pills, and the success rate soared to more than 95%. In the past 20 years, Yang Chen felt that his alchemy technique had become more and more proficient, and he was able to control dozens of fire seed. The tedious alchemy process allowed Yang Chen to finally break through his previous bottleneck, and his alchemy level entered a new realm. It was not that he could break through to a higher level by successfully refining the 5 revolution marrow pills in 1 or 2 challenges. It took Yang Chen decades and nearly 100 years before he finally reached the limit of the 5th grade alchemy master. If Yang Chen had to rely on the profound spirit furnace to make the Yun marrow pill reach the level of 5th grade refining, then now, Yang Chen only relied on his own technique. Without any special pill furnace, he could refine the 5 revolution marrow pill. This was the real peak of the fifth-grade alchemy master. In fact, when he reached this step, the Yun marrow pill that Yang Chun finally collected from the profound spirit furnace was no longer a 5-revolution marrow pill, but a 6-revolution marrow pill. In the eyes of others, Yang Chun was already a real 6th-grade alchemy master. Chapter 1684. Slowly putting away the 6 revolutions marrow pill, Yang Chun stood up and began to observe the surroundings. Refining the marrow pill was an extremely laborious task. Concentrating for a long time, Yang Chun did not even dare to release his divine sense, for fear that a slight mistake would lead to failure. Naturally, the consumption of the divine sense was also a jaw-dropping amount. If Yang Chun did not have the complete divine sense of a great principal golden immortal in his sea of consciousness, Yang Chun did not even dare to determine whether his current divine sense of a mere grade 2 heaven immortal could completely meet the requirements of refining 206 revolutions marrow pills at the same time. The crisis of the divine sense skyrocketing was a joke in front of this consumption. A little divine sense released from the white fireball would be consumed immediately, so there was no need to worry about the sea of consciousness exploding. The most important thing to worry about was whether it could last until the completion. Now Yang Chun somewhat believed that Taishang Laojun would be captured. Yang Chun had to restrain his divine sense and concentrate on refining the 5 revolutions marrow pill without any distractions. Taishang Laojun could easily refine the 9 revolutions golden pill. It was really normal for him not to know what was happening outside when he was refining it. With the help of the marrow pill he had taken before and focusing on alchemy for 20 years, there was no problem with Yang Chun's body. He stood up, full of energy without any discomfort. "Husband! Husband!" 2 charming voices came into Yang Chun's ears. It was Gao Yu and Gong Sunling, who found that Yang Chun had finished refining the pill and immediately came over. For the cultivators of the spiritual world, decades were just a short period of time in a short period of cultivation. If they were lucky, they might be promoted to a small realm. If they were unlucky, even if they cultivated hard, they would only be a little stronger than before and their realm would still be in the same place. There was no change in the cultivation realm of Yang Chun and the 2 women. Since the mortal world, Yang Chun had always paid great attention to the step-by-step cultivation method and would never rashly advance by leaps and bounds. Now he and the women's cultivation was the same. Even if they were cultivation geniuses, they would not rush to break through the realm. "What is this?" Looking at the 2 pills that Yang Chun casually handed over, the 2 girls were very puzzled. However, they did not stand on ceremony and directly took them in their hands. 6 lifelike dragon-shaped pill marks directly indicated to the 2 women the grade of the pill in their hands, and when they saw it clearly, the 2 women involuntarily covered their cherry mouths, so as not to be too surprised and cry out. "This pill is good for you. Take it," Yang Chun said with a smile. Of course, good things should be used by his own family. With the 2 girls by his side, he naturally had the advantage of being in a favorable position. The first batch of 200 elixirs had already been sent out by Gong Sunling after they were refined and handed over to Elder Wu Xiong as the trump card of Wanbao Tower. Elder Wu Xiong took out one every 6 months, and it had already become the unshakable finale of the Sunset Rock auction. The popularity of the 5-revolution marrow cleansing pill was evident. However, the 2 elixirs in front of them were clearly the 6-revolution marrow cleansing pill. This also meant that their husband had successfully entered the ranks of the 6th-grade alchemists. How could the 2 women not be pleasantly surprised? After taking the 2 elixirs happily, the 2 women were still immersed in great shock. This husband of theirs was simply too unimaginable. Even the 2 women were extremely shocked. Even the close family members were like this. It was conceivable what kind of shock this news would cause if it spread outside. Don't worry, don't announce the breakthrough to the public. Wait until the right time. Yang Chun told the 2 women a little, and the 2 women suddenly understood. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. This would never happen in the mortal world, and it was the same in the spiritual world. Once someone felt that Yang Chun was developing too fast and could not be suppressed, they might have some other thoughts. After briefly asking about the situation outside these years, Yang Chun got a piece of news from Gong Sunling that made him look forward to it. Has the mysterious seed changed? Yang Chen's first reaction when he heard the news was surprise. The mysterious seed of Old Wang of Blessing Gathering Building had been obtained for more than 100 years. After a lot of effort, there was finally a result. It must be known that Yang Chun put the Pure Bottle Medicine Garden where the seed was cultivated on the sea map of the Mountain River geographical map. He directly mobilized hundreds of spiritual veins to input spiritual power. It took a full 100 years for it to change. This price alone made people look forward to what it was. Let's go and see, Yang Chun said immediately. Almost at the same time as the voice fell, the figures of Yang Chun and Gao Yugong Sunling disappeared in place and then appeared on the sea map. The clear green bottle was quietly placed on the sea map and there seemed to be no change. The figures of the three people flashed again and all entered the Pure Bottle Medicine Garden. The figures of a Zhu and a Bai appeared at the same time as Yang Chun and the others appeared. They were the spirits of the Pure Bottle Medicine Garden. Any changes in the medicine garden could not escape the eyes of the two women. Greetings, Master. A Zhu and a Bai rushed to Yang Chun and bowed. Yang Chun raised his hands and motioned the two women to get up, then asked, "What changes has happened to the seed?" "It's very strange," a Zhu and a Bai said in unison. With their words, the figures of everyone had flashed again and appeared on the lonely island in the sea. On such a large island, only a strange seed was planted. Originally, it was just a black ball, but now it looked like there was something more. In a certain part of the ball, there seemed to be a sprout. It's just that the sprout was very fine, it didn't look like it would continue to grow at all. Is it still absorbing spiritual power? Yang Chun asked casually, squatted down and looked at it carefully. Since 5 years ago, the absorption of spiritual power has been reduced by more than half. A Zhu replied respectfully Yang Chen's question. She and a Bai treated it as the most important thing. It has been like this since then, and it hasn't changed. Sure enough, it was a very strange thing. Yang Chun observed it carefully for a long time and found nothing unusual. Nothing could be seen with the naked eye. Yang Chun didn't say anything. He launched his spiritual awareness, and then there was a huge seed in his sea of consciousness. All the places of this seed, Yang Chun could see it clearly in his sea of consciousness. What puzzled Yang Chun was that there was no abnormality in all the places, even the special part that used to absorb spiritual power disappeared without a trace. The strangest thing was the little sprout that had just sprouted. In Yang Chen's sea of consciousness, he seemed to feel a little fear when facing a natural enemy, which couldn't help but make Yang Chun puzzled. This was just a plant, how could there be fear? Chapter 1685. In Yang Chen's feeling, the sprout didn't want to grow, but it seemed to be afraid of something around it and didn't dare to grow, so it curled up like that. If you observe it with this emotion, the sprout felt like a timid little girl, surrounded by a group of majestic men, so she didn't dare to show up. Strange feeling, strange seed, strange plant. After Yang Chun carefully tasted it for a moment, he left the sea of consciousness and returned to reality. The eyes of the women were staring at Yang Chun, waiting for him to speak. After Yang Chun frowned and carefully observed for a while, he suddenly asked a Zhu and a Bai, "Can you feel that it seems to be afraid?" A Zhu and a Bai were the bodies of the peach tree and the blue jade vine, the first wood and the second wood. They were the most able to communicate with plants, so Yang Chun would have this question. Only a little bit in a very occasional situation, and then there was no that feeling again. A Zhu replied honestly, and a Bai next to her also nodded in agreement. It only appeared once, but it has been maintaining this appearance. Yang Chun didn't dare to say that he had found out the mystery. However, It was very obvious that there should be something in this medicinal garden that made this person afraid, and that was why it became like this. A Ling, prepare the land suitable for planting. Yang Chun thought about it and told Gong Sunling. Since this seed was afraid of something in the medicine garden, then they would change the place. Gong Sunling's mountain river geographical map merged several spaces, and it should be more than enough to grow a plant. With a Zhu and a Bai doing it, transplanting this strange seed did not take too much time and effort for Yang Chun. Soon the seed with the sprout was transplanted to a certain piece of land in the mountain river geographical map. Then, spirit water and spirit power began to be poured in. Under everyone's gaze, the little sprout seemed to have discovered that it had changed its environment. It stretched out a little, but it immediately felt something terrifying and shrank back again. From the sprout to the shrinkage, it was only a short blink of an eye, but everyone present clearly felt the process. This time it was not an illusion, it was a change that everyone discovered. This change made everyone a little excited. This change fully explained that Yang Chen's previous guess was very correct. This seed was afraid of something or some aura, so it didn't dare to grow. The question was, what was this seed afraid of? There were many things in the medicine garden, so it was not good to check them one by one. But in the mountain river geographical map, was there something that the seed was afraid of? What was in the medicine garden and the mountain river geographical map in common that could make this strange seed afraid? Gong Sunling's interest was also aroused, and immediately began to compare with a Zhu and a Bai. However, it was obvious that this was not a simple matter. Not only did the herb garden have several layers, but it had also collected an entire ocean's worth of water. How many things were mixed in it? Could it be possible to eliminate them one by one? Soon, Gong Sunling and a Zhu and a Bai found the problem and stopped. Everyone's eyes were on Yang Chun again, waiting for him to make a decision. In fact, it was very simple. Since there was something here that made the seed afraid to germinate, then they would change to another place. However, whether it was in the medicine garden or in the mountain river geographical map, Yang Chun and the girls could control it. Who knew if this seed would grow into an unexpected monster once it was changed to another place? This was not a joke. The seed had absorbed the spiritual power of more than 100 spiritual veins for a full 100 years, and only such a small sprout appeared. It could be imagined how powerful this seed was. Once it was out of control, it might be a disaster for the entire Chunyang Palace. But in the blink of an eye, this thought was thrown to the back of his mind. What a joke! Everyone here was a cultivator who had cultivated for at least 1,000 years. No matter how strong this seed was, could he be stronger than everyone else? Whether it was the Yin-Yang Heaven Burning Fire or the Yin-Yang Five Elements Flying Sword, Yang Chun was sure that this seed that might have a mutation would turn into a pile of ashes. In the Dragon Palace, there was a special place for cultivating spirit medicine. Yang Chun asked Xiao Tian to empty a piece and then transplanted the seed out. Right in front of everyone's eyes, the sprout on the seed was once again frightened and curled up. It was a baffling scene. What do the medicine garden, the mountain river geographical map, and the Dragon Palace have in common? Everyone's mind was thinking about this question. Dragon Clan, Yang Chun said softly, and at the same time, he thought of a possibility in his heart. They are all related to the magic weapon refined by the Dragon Clan. The medicine garden was later integrated with the Dragon Clan's gourd to expand the space. Needless to say, the mountain river geographical map was directly a magic weapon refined by the Dragon Clan. Of course, the Dragon Palace was a place where the Dragon Clan lived. Everything had the aura of the Dragon Clan. This thing is afraid of the aura of the Dragon Clan? Everyone looked at Yang Chun, waiting for Yang Chen's further explanation. Yang Chun did not answer directly, but summoned Xiao Tian to his side. Xiao Tian didn't care at first, but soon he noticed the aura of the seed, and suddenly showed a vigilant expression, but there was no further order from Yang Chun, so there has been no further action. What is it? Gao Yu looked at Xiao Tian's performance in doubt and couldn't help but ask. If I didn't guess wrong, it should be a legendary thing. Yang Chun stared at the seed and slowly said, Legend has it that there is a kind of grass that has been extinct by the dragon clan, called the dragon grass. Perhaps this is the dragon grass. In the doubt of everyone, Yang Chun slowly told the legend of the dragon grass. The dragon grass, in fact, should be called the dragon grass. This is a plant that may pose a fatal threat to the dragon clan. Once entangled by the dragon grass, the dragon clan will become like prey entangled in a spider web. Life and death will be out of control. From this point of view, the dragon grass can be said to be the natural enemy of the dragon clan, so it was exterminated by the dragon clan. It was unknown where old Wang of the Blessing Gathering Building found the seed of the dragon grass, but it had not germinated. At this moment it fell into the hands of Yang Chun. The dragon grass relied on the aura of the dragon clan to hunt its target, but when the dragon clan's aura was too strong, the dragon grass would instinctively be suppressed. The dragon grass that had just germinated could never compete with the medicine garden, the mountain river geographical map, and the dragon clan aura in the dragon palace. It was normal to have that kind of fear. Everyone was surprised that there was such a magical thing, but Yang Chen was thinking about what old Wang of the Blessing Gathering Building wanted to do with the dragon grass. Chapter 1686. In addition to being able to trap the real dragon clan to a certain extent, the dragon grass basically had no other use. If one had to look into it, at most, it could be used as a raw material in the refining of some medicinal pills, but compared with the huge cost of cultivating the dragon grass, the value was not proportional. In this case, the sole purpose of Wang Dongzhu of the Blessing Gathering Building wanting the dragon grass was very interesting. One must know that even in the spiritual world, the dragon clan was not often seen, and the rareness was even rarer than the 9 Revolutions golden pill. Yang Chun would never believe that Wang Dongzhu was just trying to refine a certain kind of medicinal pill. It was very likely that Wang Dongzhu found a dragon clan in a secret place and couldn't fight it, so he thought of using the dragon grass to deal with it. As long as the mature part of the dragon grass was used, it could be refined into a magic weapon to trap the dragon clan, and then capture a dragon alive. Only such a result would make Wang Dongzhu willing to pay half of the price of the Blessing Gathering Building. As Yang Chun guessed, when Yang Chun transplanted the seed to an ordinary medicine garden outside the Dragon Palace, the seed no longer had any scruples and began to grow wildly. In just a moment, it became a tough rattan with a length of tens of feet. On the rattan, there were some soft thorns, the leaves were not very dense, there were only a few pieces. But the overall feeling it gave people was that this rattan was like a living creature waiting for prey, only waiting for the prey to appear. Xiao Tian appeared here in time, and then the dragon grass immediately had a huge reaction. The long rattan pounced out like a poisonous snake and instantly pounced on Xiao Tian's body. Xiao Tian's reaction was also very agile. He opened his mouth and spat out a majestic sword chi, slashing towards the dragon grass. The toughness of the dragon grass was far beyond everyone's expectations. An attack that was almost comparable to Shi Shanshan's supreme pure yang sword chi could not cut off the rattan that was only as thick as a human thigh. It only cut off half of the rattan, and the remaining half was still growing tenaciously. Just after Xiao Tian attacked once, the dragon grass had already wrapped around Xiao Tian's body. The soft thorns on the rattan instantly turned into countless barbs, deeply piercing into Xiao Tian's body. Xiao Tian's huge body was wrapped by the dragon entanglement grass in just a short time, and then the vines began to tighten a little. Xiao Tian only struggled a few times and could no longer break free. The dragon grass was worthy of being the natural enemy of the dragon clan. Even if Xiao Tian's cultivation base was much deeper than the newly grown dragon grass, he still couldn't get rid of the shackles of the dragon grass. Everything naturally subdued everything else. It was truly miraculous. No wonder the dragon entanglement grass was exterminated by the dragon clan. If it was Yang Chen, he would have made the same decision. However, the weakness of the dragon coiled grass was its rhizome. With Yang Chen firmly controlling the rhizome, it was impossible for the dragon coiled grass to escape Yang Chen's control. After a while, the dragon grass obediently let go of Xiao Tian. After being released, Xiao Tian looked very angry and was about to destroy the dragon entangled grass, but was stopped by Yang Chen. The immortal beheading blade, which was blessed by Xiao Tian, cut off the first part of the dragon entanglement grass. The rest of the part, Yang Chen directly gave it to Bai. The toughness of the dragon entanglement grass far exceeded that of the demonized vine, plus it had a natural restraint on the dragon clan. As long as Bai absorbed it, her cultivation base would definitely rise to the next level. As for the part that was cut off in front, it was the part that Yang Chen promised to give to Master Wang of the Blessing Gathering building. Yang Chen wanted to see what this Master Wang wanted to do. Of course, before handing it over to Master Wang, Yang Chen would never forget to leave his own secret spiritual awareness imprint on it, so that he could track it at any time. Just when Yang Chen's family had just transplanted the dragon entanglement grass from the dragon palace to the ordinary medicine garden and the dragon entanglement grass grew rapidly, the face of Master Wang of the Blessing Gathering building hundreds of thousands of miles away suddenly changed and then turned into an irrepressible surprise. The dragon entanglement grass really germinated and grew. Master Wang couldn't believe his feelings, but the kind of spiritual awareness that was innately connected with him clearly told him that the seed of the dragon entanglement grass that he gave to Yang Chen had really taken root and germinated. This was not an illusion, but a real feeling. Even Master Wang could clearly feel that it was in a certain direction in the distance. When the seed was in the medicine garden, in the mountain river geographical map, in the dragon palace, all the spiritual awareness was shielded outside, and he couldn't detect the situation of the seed at all. For decades, Master Wang couldn't perceive where the seed was. He was already desperate. The sudden shock of spiritual sense made Wang Dongzhu's already somewhat desperate mind immediately become lively again. Yang Chen really planted the dragon entanglement grass, which meant that his own great cause could be expected. The expectations of several generations of people, for tens of thousands of years, finally had the possibility of success. Now Master Wang couldn't wait to grow a pair of wings and immediately fly to Yang Chen's side to get the dragon entanglement grass that he wanted. However, as the owner of the Blessing Gathering building for many years, Master Wang really had the ability to calm down. After the surprise, he had to consider how to get it safely. Now the only dragon entangling grass in the world was in Yang Chen's hands. How could he safely get that piece of rattan from Yang Chen's hands? This was what Wang Dongzhu was most concerned about. Moreover, no one in this world was a fool. Even if he wanted to get half of the value of the Blessing Gathering building's property, it was not so easy to get it, so the handover between the two parties had become a troublesome matter. Very soon, Wang Dongzhu had a plan in mind. He pulled over his confidant and patiently explained everything to him. Then, Wang Dongzhu brought his bodyguard and quickly rushed to the location of the dragon-coiled grass. In the past 100 years, when Yang Chen auctioned the Dragon Mark elixir of the 5-grade questioning inner heart pill, Master Wang had already known the identity of Yang Chen. This time, he went directly to Chunyang Palace. Master Wang firmly believed that no one in Chunyang Palace would know the origin of the dragon entanglement grass. As long as the other party did not know the reason, then everything would be fine. Chunyang Palace had 1,000 things to do. He believed that half of the Blessing Gathering building's property would definitely make Chunyang Palace overjoyed. If he only wanted a part of it, there should be no accident. On Yang Chen's side, everything had been arranged. The part of the dragon entanglement grass that was cut off had already been properly stored, waiting for Master Wang to come. The remaining roots and leaves had also been moved to the medicine garden. Under the ubiquitous dragon chi around, the dragon entanglement grass that had grown curled up again and was directly wrapped up by a bai. It was only a matter of time before it was refined. The medicine garden once again turned into an emerald handle and was in the hands of Yang Chen. The preparation was sufficient, just waiting for Master Wang's arrival. Chapter 1687. During the 20 years of Yang Chen's alchemy, great changes had taken place in Chunyang Palace again. The most significant change was that the number of disciples who ascended from the mortal world had slowly increased. The 100-year period agreed with the disciples in the mortal world had arrived. Many disciples of Chunyang Palace in the mortal world had successfully ascended after a long wait. After experiencing the first lesson of ascending from the mortal world to the spiritual world, the first thing those disciples saw when they entered the reception town was the signboard of Chunyang Palace. In the reception town, all the major sects gave them quite a lot of face. The 5 major sects gathered together and put together a storefront for Chunyang Palace on the side of the square of the reception town. The huge signboard was very eye-catching. This location alone was enough to make countless first-rate, second-rate, and third-rate sects drool, let alone the signboard that could be seen at a glance. The disciples of Chunyang Palace were surprised and delighted. They never thought that their sect, which had almost no foundation in the spiritual world, would have such a scene. Especially when they saw their elders waiting for them with a smile, they were so excited that they almost cried. The first lesson of the spiritual world let them know a lot of things, and they even learned some secrets of the spiritual world from the disciples of other sects. In their minds, it was good enough for Chunyang Palace to have a name and stand firm in the spiritual world. They never thought that there would be people waiting for them in the reception town. They were all cultivators, so this situation was understandable. In the mortal world, they were taken care of by the sect in the sect. After ascending to the spiritual world, they had to share the joys and sorrows with the sect and build the sect all the way. However, they never expected that in just a short period of 100 years, the elders who had already ascended had already achieved such a level. The reception station of the sect in the center of the reception town was already surprising. But when they heard that it had a territory of 100,000 miles and the support of the major sect, it was even more beyond the imagination of ordinary people. On the way back to the sect from the reception town, they spent all their time in surprise. There were not many disciples who ascended in the first batch, only a dozen. Half of them were demon cultivators and human cultivators. They were basically outstanding disciples of that year. This group of disciples could be regarded as the direct descendants of Chunyang Palace. With this group of people coming up safely, it meant that there would be a steady stream of disciples in Chunyang Palace in the future, and the sect would surely develop and grow. On the first day of Yang Chen's seclusion, these disciples came together to visit him. All of them were sincerely kowtowing. The etiquette was so great that it was comparable to meeting the head of the palace, which showed the sincerity of everyone. In the Dragon Palace, Yang Chen had already told Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling that he had become a 6th-grade alchemist master, and he was not in a hurry to publicize it. Some things always had to be announced at the right time to get the greatest effect. The previous trend of the 5 revolving marrow pill had not passed. Now that it was said, at most, it would make people exclaim in amazement. Continuous shock could not produce a superimposed effect. There was no major substantive gain for the pure Yang Palace. On the contrary, it was better to hide it. Wang Dongzhu's speed was faster than Yang Chen's imagination. He thought that he would arrive within half a month, but in less than 10 days, Wang Dongzhu appeared in front of Yang Chen. This time, Wang Dongzhu followed the etiquette of visiting, and then he was able to see Yang Chen. The first thing that Wang Dongzhu did when he saw Yang Chen was to apologize. "Master Yang, I had eyes but failed to see last time. I didn't recognize Master Yang's true face. I am ashamed." The last time they met, Wang Dongzhu called himself Old Wang. This time, he still called him this way, which could more or less seem a little intimate. Congratulations, Wang Dongzhu. Yang Chen didn't talk nonsense. He went straight to the point and congratulated Wang Dongzhu. I am fortunate enough to not disappoint you. The seed has sprouted. Wang Dongzhu was very nervous before he came. It was a big event, and he couldn't help but think about it. What if Yang Chen didn't give him anything? What if Yang Chen was too greedy? He never thought that Yang Chen would be so straightforward and go straight to the point. However, it was better this way. When Yang Chen said so, Wang Dongzhu's heart finally settled back into his chest. As long as Yang Chen still acknowledged this matter, then everything would be fine. At most, he would have to pay a little more. Worldly possessions were insignificant compared to the master that he was going to be. Master Yang, this is the list of Blessing Gathering Building's properties. Master, if you like anything, just pick it and send someone to take it. I will arrange the handover immediately. Fearing that a long delay would cause trouble, Wang Dongzhu immediately showed his sincerity. In the end, Blessing Gathering Building was just worldly possessions. For cultivators, the most important thing was their own cultivation, not wealth. Wang Dongzhu was straightforward, and Yang Chen was also straightforward. He took out the 200 feet long vine of dragon coiling grass from his Qiankuan bag and coiled it on the ground, occupying a large space. Looking at the thing that he dreamed of, especially with his hidden divine sense left on it, Wang Dongzhu was excited. Fortunately, he had seen a lot of things in Blessing Gathering Building, so he didn't lose his composure immediately. Instead, he politely cupped his hands at Yang Chen before walking over to examine it carefully under Yang Chen's gesture. Basically, there weren't many cultivators in the spiritual realm who had seen dragon coiling grass. It could even be said that there were almost none. Even though Wang Dongzhu had the seeds of dragon coiling grass, he had never seen the real thing. He could only rely on the records passed down by his ancestors to distinguish it. Especially this kind of secretive thing, Wang Dongzhu didn't dare to let outsiders know, so he was very careful in his appraisal. Yang Chen didn't rush him. He sat in the same place and slowly tasted the fragrant tea that Shanshan had made for him. He slowly waited for Wang Dongzhu to finish his appraisal while looking at the contents of the jade slip list and slowly pondering. Wang Dongzhu spent half a day examining the dragon-entwined grass vines inch by inch. He really examined it inch by inch without the slightest mistake. He was so serious that it was as if he was examining his own life. Perhaps to Wang Dongzhu, this was his family's wealth and his life. Finally, Wang Dongzhu stood up and let out a long breath. The relaxed and happy expression on his face made people doubt that he had gotten what he wanted the most. Grandmaster Yang, you really have the means of an immortal, Wang Dongzhu said and gave a thumbs up to Yang Chen. I have been in the spiritual realm for thousands of years, but Grandmaster Yang is the first to make this seed germinate. Well said, as long as Wang Dongzhu is satisfied. Yang Chen also had a smile on his face. He had the face of a friendly businessman. If there is such a business in the future, please take care of it. Wang Dongzhu was startled when he heard this, but he immediately smiled. It seemed that this business was stable. Chapter 1688. In Wang Dongzhu's eyes, what he was most afraid of was that Yang Chen would not admit it. This was Chunyang Palace, Yang Chen's territory. If Yang Chen was not willing to fulfill the agreement and fell out with him on the spot, Wang Dongzhu would have to take a great risk. After all, Yang Chen had a mysterious queen of celestial eating insects in his hand. Now that Yang Chen put on a business posture, everything would be easy to negotiate. Since it was a business, and the price was negotiated before, there was no need for them to fall out. The things that Wang Dongzhu had secretly prepared would be useless. The dragon entwining grass was so rare that Wang Dongzhu suspected that no one in this world knew about it except him. Since Yang Chen could take out such a piece of it so easily, he probably didn't know what it was at all. This was also good. The secret of this thing would only belong to him. As for the dragon entwining grass left by Yang Chen, Once they encountered the Dragon Clan, they would probably be destroyed immediately, and there would never be a chance to know the truth. What happened next was naturally a happy ending, and both sides got what they needed. Yang Chun chose half of the items on the list. In fact, it was mainly the shops that Blessing Gathering Tower had been operating for many years. Of course, Yang Chun did not let go of the good things in Blessing Gathering Tower's warehouse. Yang Chun did not hesitate to choose more than half of them, and all of them were good things that sold well in the spiritual realm. The original intention of choosing the shops and the best-selling goods was naturally for the sake of Wanbao Tower. Now the Wanbao Tower operated by Elder Wu Xiong, with the help of Yang Chen's 5 Revolution Marrow Pill, had already firmly established a foothold. With sufficient manpower and abundant goods, it was time to expand. These industries of Blessing Gathering Tower could help Wanbao Tower expand more quickly. Wanbao Tower was one of Yang Chen's industries, and it was also a source of news throughout the spiritual realm in the future. Yang Chen had to vigorously develop it no matter what. For the things that Yang Chen chose, Wang Dongzhu did not feel the slightest pity. After all, it was just some worldly possessions. The things that were really useful to him were on him, and they did not appear on the list at all. To put it bluntly, even if Yang Chen did not hesitate to ask for all the things, Wang Dongzhu would absolutely take them out without hesitation. As long as he could successfully refine the dragon in twining grass and refine it into that magic treasure, and achieve the ultimate goal, Wang Dongzhu would not hesitate to pay the price of 2 Blessings Gathering Tower. Yang Chen was not greedy, and it was completely in accordance with the original agreement. If the things were calculated according to the value, it was almost half of the original agreement. When Wang Dongzhu left with a smile on his face, Yang Chen had a token and a dozen Qiankuan bags on his body. As Chen did so, Chen did not Chen did Gong, did not of Dongzhu Chen 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 Qian Chen, Gong Gong, and of the Chen Yang had the Chen Chongs out. Chen Gong of in the future, as long as Elder Wu Xiong held this token, he could completely take over the industries of Blessing Gathering Tower. Wang Dongzhu was very satisfied with this transaction. Yang Chen could be said to have abided by the previous agreement from the beginning to the end, which made Wang Dongzhu have a very good impression of Yang Chen. If there were no other conflicts of interest, it was definitely a good thing to be on good terms with such a top-grade alchemist who abided by the rules and cultivated precious medicinal herbs. In order to repay Yang Chen's rules, Wang Dongzhu was even willing to announce to his peers that in addition to alchemy, Yang Chen also had such a unique skill in cultivating medicinal herbs. He believed that many people would be interested in this. Elder Wu Xiong's life in Wanbao Tower over the years was very comfortable. The connections that he had accumulated in the mortal world finally had a place to use them. Wu Xiong's ascended friends were basically a group of people who had made some achievements in their respective sect. In particular, Wu Xiong's reputation in the mortal world was excellent, and there was an endless stream of people who came to visit him. In addition to a huge flagship store in Wanbao Tower, the largest and only auction house in Sunset Rock was now also an industry of Wanbao Tower. The 5th-grade marrow pill, a good thing that couldn't be bought outside, could only be bought in the auction house of Wanbao Tower in Sunset Rock, and from time to time, some 3rd-grade and 4th-grade questioning inner heart pills would appear. The business was unusually prosperous. Some of the original friends of Lan Ying didn't like the way Yang Chen pointed out and left the group, but most of them still stayed and became the periphery of Wanbao Tower. Over the years, the reputation of these cultivators outside had slowly changed with the operation of Wanbao Tower. With so many people gathered in a store and an auction house, it was naturally a bit crowded. Wanbao Tower was also in urgent need of expansion. What is this? When Elder Wu Xiong got the token of Blessing Gathering Tower, he first asked in confusion, and then he saw what was in his hand. After his spiritual awareness explored the items in the Jade Slip list, even though Elder Wu had ascended for many years and his mind was stable, He couldn't help but stand up in shock. As the current actual head of Wanbao Tower, Wu Xiong knew better than anyone what Wanbao Tower needed now. Similarly, Wu Xiong's experience and his identity also made him very familiar with some big businesses in the spiritual world. He quickly recognized the token of Blessing Gathering Tower, and the things on the list made him suspect that he was dreaming at the moment. Blessing Gathering Tower, a business that was at least at the level of 10,000 years old, had a deep heritage. Wu Xiong was absolutely clear. Therefore, he was even more shocked that Yang Chen could give him the token of Blessing Gathering Tower and the list. How was this possible? After the shock, Elder Wu was unable to suppress his ecstasy. A long drought immediately brought rain, and someone sent him a pillow when he was sleepy. This batch of businesses and goods came at the right time. When Wanbao Tower was in need of expansion, Yang Chen brought this big gift. It was not an exaggeration to describe it as timely rain. Elder Wu believed in Yang Chen's character. Yang Chen would not use two forged things to trick him into going to Blessing Gathering Tower to make a fool of himself. This also meant that these were all real things. It was believed that in the near future, the branches of Wanbao Tower would hang up signboards on the original sites of Blessing Gathering Tower. Soon, Elder Wu began to worry. Before, there were too many people but not enough goods and stores. He worried about not having enough goods and stores to expand. Now, the whole situation was reversed. The stores were ready and the goods were sufficient, but the manpower was not enough. The existing staff of Wanbao Tower, plus those friends of Lan, had more than 500 people. It was definitely redundant to put them in a store and an auction house. However, when faced with hundreds of stores to take over, even if each of these people was responsible for a store, it was not enough. Chapter 1689. Of course, this was Elder Wu Xiong's problem. Since Yang Chen had handed over the Wanbao Tower to Elder Wu Xiong and also provided various sources, if other problems were to be solved by Yang Chen, it would seem that Elder Wu Xiong was too incompetent. Not to mention that Yang Chen would not mention it. Even if it was mentioned, Elder Wu Xiong would not accept it. Therefore, Yang Chen was very smart and did not say anything about it. Everything was to let Elder Wu Xiong solve it himself. What Yang Chen had to do was to refine more medicinal pills as much as possible. Although Gao Yu and Gong Sunling both thought that Yang Chen was already a 6th-grade alchemy master, Yang Chen knew that he was not yet. His current level was only at the peak of the 5th-grade alchemy master. With the help of the profound spirit furnace, he could only refine a 6th-grade medicinal pill. It was precisely because of this that after solving the matter of the dragon winding grass, Yang Chen turned around and entered the dragon palace to start alchemy. Others only thought that Yang Chen wanted to refine more medicinal pills. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling thought that Yang Chen wanted to consolidate his alchemy level. No one cared. Wang Dongzhu just got the part of the dragon winding grass, and it was certainly impossible to use it immediately. Don't look at the fact that the dragon winding grass had just germinated, but it took 100 years to nourish it with spiritual power. That piece of dragon winding grass vine was by no means something that could be used. It needed to be carefully refined. Yang Chen tried to refine a small piece of the dragon winding grass vine. After trying it, Yang Chen gave up. With Yang Chen's current cultivation base, coupled with his heaven-defying spiritual awareness, it was estimated that it would take Yang Chen more than 20 years to refine the dragon winding grass vine of the length of the thumb according to his own wishes. Yang Chen did not think that Wang Dongzhu's cultivation base was higher than his own by a big realm, and he could refine the dozens of feet-long dragon winding grass vine in a short time. No matter what Wang Dongzhu did in the future, it would take a long time before he could carry it out. During this time, Yang Chen could only wait. Of course, Yang Chen couldn't just sit around and do nothing. There were still some things that he could do. In the Dragon Palace, Yang Chen challenged his limits again. After refining 205 revolution marrow cleansing elixirs, Yang Chen decided to go out for a walk. This time, Gao Yu and Gong Sunling did not completely accompany Yang Chen, but went out again to gain experience. The retreat was only for Yang Chen alone. It was not Yang Chen who left Chunyang Palace, but Lu Xiang. Even Gao Yu and Gong Sunling did not know that their husband had another identity. Everyone thought that Yang Chen was refining elixirs in retreat because a dozen of marrow-cleansing elixirs would be released every once in a while. No one knew that Yang Chen was no longer in Chunyang Palace. Chunyang Palace had accepted a lot of individual cultivators in a short time, but their status was not high. An unknown little rogue cultivator who later joined the Pure Yang Palace, no cultivator would pay attention to him all the time. Therefore, when Lu Xiang came out of the gate of Chunyang Palace, except for the disciples on duty at the gate who greeted each other, no one noticed him. Lu Xiang wandered around the territory of his sect in Linyangchuan. After learning a little about the situation in the territory, he turned to the Sunset Rock. He didn't stay in the Sunset Rock for a long time. He bought some ordinary things in several shops. After leaving a little impression, he left the Sunset Rock and disappeared. There were countless sects in the spiritual realm. Which sect didn't have a few disciples outside to gain experience? The world was so big. A small cultivator could hardly make a splash if he went in. Lu Xiang's disappearance also did not attract anyone's attention. Everything happened very naturally. Yang Chen's current identity was really ordinary to the extreme. It was so ordinary that even if he stood in front of some of the bitter disciples of the Profound Heaven sect, those people estimated that they would at most say "oh," and then there would be no following. Was it worth raising their eyelids for an individual cultivator who joined later? This time, Yang Chen's destination was the place where the third master was sealed. There were 5 ancient zither in his hands, and each of them hid a place. This was a good method that could increase the number of masters and consume his own spiritual sense. Yang Chen would not keep it. What's more, this was the arrangement of the ancestors of the Zhao family. Maybe when Yang Chen unlocked the seal, it would destroy some of the plans of the ancestors of the Zhao family, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. The Zhao family was indeed a big deal. In the mortal world, there was a 4th-grade Earth Immortal Longxian, and a huge demon continent. Even the Taishanmen would be ashamed of their inferiority. If the mortal world had made such arrangements, how could the spiritual realm be unknown? If there were really 8 ancient zither, then there were at least 8 masters of the supreme mystic immortal level. There were at least 8 spirit veins of the heaven immortal level. This alone had already made countless people blush with shame. With so much manpower and material resources, who would believe that the Zhao family had no ambition and just wanted to hide their identity? However, Yang Chen searched his memory. Except that his friend in the immortal world got an ancient zither and released a master a long time later, he had never heard any news related to this matter. The secret of the Zhao family had exceeded everyone's expectations. If it weren't for Yang Chen to announce the cultivation secret of the 5th-grade alchemist master in the mortal world, it was estimated that the Zhao family would still be hiding in the dark and plotting something. Yang Chen couldn't figure out what the Zhao family was going to do with a demon continent, but since even Big Brother Li Cheng opposed it, Yang Chen's position must be very certain. Unlocking the seal of these masters may be able to break the deployment of the Zhao family and force the Zhao family to show up. The destination this time was a desolate desert, very remote. Yang Chen had never heard of anything happening in this desert in his memory, and it was hard for the Zhao family to be able to find the spirit vein of the heaven immortal level in this place. The remote desert did not mean that there were no cultivators. Under certain unique conditions, the strength of the indigenous monster race of the spiritual world could reach the earth immortal or above, and under the harsh environment of the desert, there were many fierce guys. Not to mention others, Shi Kuei and Xie Sha of the Chunyang Palace were born in the desert back then. Whether it was their character or their moves, they were rare fierce goods. With these 2 pearls in front of him, Yang Chen was already very alert before he arrived at the desert. This desert was very large, more than 10 times the size of the barren sand valley where Shi Kuei and Xie Sha were hiding. The yellow sand in the sky, as soon as he entered the desert, it was as if he immediately entered a flame, which was extremely hot. It was in a hot climate area, coupled with drought and no rain. Ordinary people coming in was almost no different from being considered. However, Yang Chen had not gone far into the desert when he felt several very unfriendly auras, vaguely surrounding Yang Chen. Chapter 1690. Yang Chen did not use the flying shuttle because the flying shuttle could easily expose Yang Chen's identity. Even the golden bell, beheading immortal blade, medicine garden, and other magical weapons that had appeared on Yang Chen before, Lu Xiang did not have any of them. Lu Xiang's identity only used the living soil flying sword. This flying sword with no earth attribute was rarely shown, so almost no one knew that it was Yang Chen's weapon. The flying speed of the flying sword with the earth attribute was naturally not comparable to the flying shuttle. In addition, Yang Chen also disguised himself as a muscular man with a successful body refining technique, so his speed would arouse suspicion. Aware of the unfriendly aura, Yang Chen did not react and still followed the original direction, controlling the living soil flying sword, controlling it at a height of about 10 feet from the ground, and flew towards the destination at a leisurely pace. As far as the eye could see, there was no other color except for the deep and light yellow. On the flat sand dunes, there was no trace of any living creature. In an ordinary desert, one could occasionally see a little oasis, but Yang Chen now looked as far as he could. There was no green at all. Without the slightest warning, the attack came quietly. In the world of the monsters, there was no such thing as courtesy before force. Everyone only had a cruel life and death struggle. There was no hatred, no cause and effect, there was only one simple reason. If I eat you, I can survive. It was so simple that it was outrageous, and so cruel that it was creepy. This was the way to survive in the desert. The living soil flying sword was a flying sword that could grow slowly, and the simple lack of earth attribute made this flying sword destined to have a strong style. The moment he noticed the attack, Yang Chen's flying sword had already greeted it. There was no reason to talk about here, the only reason was the fist, the flying sword. Whoever was more powerful was the reason and justice. The flying sword heavily chopped down on a spike, and the two sides collided, producing a loud sound. Even the yellow sand below was shaken by the impact. In this collision, both sides were evenly matched, and no one gained the upper hand. The spike and the flying sword separated as soon as they came into contact, each flying back to their master's side. Without the slightest sense of surprise or frustration, the owner of the spike dived straight into the yellow sand and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Apart from the spot where he drilled into the sand, there were no other signs of living beings. Yang Chen held the living soil flying sword in his hand, but his face was unusually solemn. It looked like the other party had disappeared, but it was time to see the real deal. As if to verify Yang Chen's guess, several figures rushed out of the yellow sand from all directions and attacked Yang Chen. This time, Yang Chen could clearly see that all the figures were the same type of demonic beast. All of them were gigantic centipedes the color of yellow sand. The spike just now was one of the two spikes on the side of the centipede's mouth. Now, there were more than a dozen of them, crazily flying towards Yang Chen from all directions. With the living soil flying sword in hand, Yang Chen's spiritual consciousness firmly locked on to each and every spike. Holding the flying sword in his right hand, it made a series of clanking sounds. At this time, Yang Chen did not hold back, but brought out the full power of sea-toppling strength. All the spikes that were hit by Yang Chen's flying sword seemed to have been hit by a giant hammer, and flew away in all directions at a speed 10 times faster than when they came. Every spike that was hit by Yang Chen's flying sword inevitably cracked, and after flying hundreds of feet away, it broke into a pile irretrievably. The power of sea-toppling strength was not something that the spikes of these demonic beasts could withstand. The two life source magic weapons were destroyed, but the giant centipedes did not seem to panic. Instead, they opened their mouths and exhaled. The breath exhaled from the mouth of the centipedes was colorless and odorless, invisible and untouchable. If he had not seen several giant centipedes exhaling face to face, even Yang Chen would not have been able to judge it. The strange situation made Yang Chen not say anything. His figure immediately rose up, and then quickly escaped. The centipedes themselves were highly poisonous, and the breath exhaled from their mouths was by no means a simple poison. Sure enough, Yang Chen's figure did not go far, and under his original position, half of the huge sand dune disappeared. There was no sound, neither the corrosive sound of Yang Chen's ninth water flying sword nor any movement. It was as if it was suddenly bitten by a monster. At this moment, Yang Chen had flashed behind a big centipede. The giant centipede, which was several meters long, did not look as terrifying as Shi Kuei and Xie Sha Qianzhang's, but just this kind of soundless, colorless, and odorless poison was enough to make people retreat. The reaction of the demonic beasts was indeed fast, but unfortunately, it was not fast enough. Yang Chen's flying sword had already slashed heavily on the body of the big centipede, when the centipede had turned more than half and opened its mouth to spit out poisonous gas. There is a perpetrator for every injustice, there is a debtor for every debt. You were the ones who attacked first, so don't blame me for starting a massacre. Yang Chen did not say the mantra directly, but recited it in his heart, and the flying sword cut the big centipede. A huge wound appeared in the middle of the big centipede's body. Only a small part of the wound looked smooth at the beginning, which was cut by the flying sword. The rest of the wound was more like the flesh was cracked open by force. This poor centipede did not even make a loud sound, and it twisted in pain. In less than a moment its body stopped twisting, and it was completely quiet. Yang Chen could not care about anything else at this time, and threw himself into the fight with several big centipede. The live soil flying sword in his hand was not like a flying sword most of the time, but more like a big stick with terrifying power and tyrannical power. Others used a sword to stab, but at this moment, Yang Chen used more smashing. Whether it was a refined magic weapon or the body of a centipede, as long as it touched Yang Chen's flying sword, there was only one result left: it would be smashed or broken. There was no other possibility. Just when Yang Chen thought that he could first get rid of these big centipedes and then go to unlock the seal with peace of mind, a terrifying suction suddenly came from the underground of the desert. The object of the suction was Yang Chen's spiritual awareness. As soon as it came into contact with Yang Chen's spiritual awareness, it was like tasting something delicious, and it grabbed crazily. Yang Chen was stunned. This feeling was clearly the situation when the seal formation was absorbing the spiritual awareness, but he had not reached the position of the formation yet. How could the formation be activated? Could it be that there were already some unexpected changes in this? Chapter 1691. Now was not the time to investigate this matter. The trouble was that on one side, the array began to absorb Yang Chen's divine sense. On the other side, in addition to the few giant centipedes that were cut off by Yang Chen had already seen the shadows of a few giant centipedes flying over here. These yellow sand-colored giant centipedes had two small carapaces that looked like wings on both sides of their bodies. They were flapping at a high speed, making a burst of flapping sounds. The giant centipedes' huge bodies were flapped by the two small wings, and they could fly a long distance with just a tap on the ground. After a few ups and downs, they could reach here. If it weren't for the scene of those giant centipedes turning a small sand dune into nothingness in a few breaths, Yang Chen really wouldn't be stingy with these things. However, now that his divine sense was being led, he actually couldn't break free for a while. If he were to face these things again, it would not be so easy. Without saying anything, Yang Chen ran away on his sword. In general, the speed of Yang Chen's sword flight was still faster than these giant centipedes. As long as he was not accidentally surrounded by the giant centipedes, There was always a way to escape. The important thing now was to see what was happening here, not to be entangled with the giant centipedes. Yang Chen's idea was good, and this was what he did. However, some things did not change according to his will. When those giant centipedes saw that Yang Chen actually wanted to escape, they made very sharp cries from far away. The cries were very uncomfortable, and ordinary people would probably be irritated and unable to move when they heard it. Of course, it had almost no effect on Yang Chen. However, when Yang Chen fled towards the depths of the desert, those giant centipedes actually persevered and chased after him. Not only that, after those cries, Yang Chen actually found that in the direction he was going, there were actually dozens of giant centipedes. If each of these giant centipedes were to blow at Yang Chen, even Yang Chen would have a hard time dealing with them. A Bai's blue jade vine body would definitely not care about this little poisonous mist, but now Yang Chen was Lu Xiang's identity, so she didn't want to easily expose Yang Chen's family and identity, even if there was no one else here. This made things a little tricky. Yang Chen had no choice but to change his direction slightly to avoid the pestering giant centipedes. After taking a detour, there seemed to be no sign of the giant centipede. Yang Chen relaxed a little, and then began to study his own spiritual sense. Previously, because he was restrained by the spirit array, Yang Chen's divine sense would be sucked away as soon as he released it. It was impossible for him to detect what was happening more than 100 meters away from his body. Even when he discovered those giant centipedes, he relied on his eyes and not his divine sense. The feeling of the spirit array was very familiar. Yang Chen had already experienced it twice before, so he would never be wrong. But this location was a bit too far away, or the scope of the spirit array was a bit larger than expected. What is this situation? Before Yang Chen could carefully ponder the changes, Yang Chen found that those giant centipedes were actually chasing after him. And it was not just a few dozens, but hundreds of them. The most surprising thing was that these giant centipedes actually advanced and retreated, which was very surprising. If the giant centipedes were really a monster race with intelligence, Yang Chen would not be surprised at all, but these giant centipedes obviously had not reached that point. They were simply very strong, but they didn't look like they had become spirits at all. It was not unusual for the native monster beasts to live in groups. But when Yang Chen raised his vigilance and killed an approaching giant centipede with a sword, he was keenly aware that there seemed to be a trace of divine sense on this giant centipede. This sign was obvious that the giant centipede had a master. The other party must be a master of insects. Not to mention anything else, it was not so simple to get so many giant centipedes. But another thing surprised Yang Chen even more, that was, the other party's divine sense did not seem to be affected by this spirit array at all. This was the most terrifying thing. The only possibility that could explain this was that the other party's divine sense cultivation had exceeded the restraint of the spirit array. At least for now, it was far beyond Yang Chen. At worst, it was estimated that it had reached the level of peak fairy immortal. In this world, it was estimated that Yang Chen's divine sense and spiritual power cultivation had such a serious disconnect. It was estimated that only Yang Chen's family, who had dual cultivation with Yang Chen. No one else had really seen it. This also meant that the other party was likely to be an expert around the level of peak fairy immortal. Being targeted by such an expert's pet, Yang Chen did not know whether to say that he was lucky or unlucky. He could only sigh at his bad luck. Now that there was an expert behind these centipedes, he could not expose his identity. Yang Chen let out a long sigh, turned around and fled again. It was normal for a human immortal cultivator to turn around and flee in such a situation, wasn't it? In the process of fleeing, Yang Chen was still pondering why this expert of peak fairy immortal appeared in this place. Who knew where this guy came from? One had to know that in Yang Chen's memory, there was no such thing as a peak fairy immortal expert appearing here. Who knew where this guy came from? Once it was confirmed that this expert was at peak fairy immortal, it would not be surprising for him to have a large number of giant centipedes. If it was not for the fact that Yang Chen was still plotting against the supreme mystic immortal expert in this desert, Yang Chen would have turned around and fled far away. For a moment, a possibility suddenly flashed across Yang Chen's mind. Could this mysterious expert also be here for this sealing formation? In the middle of the desert, which Yang Chen had yet to reach, there was a burly man who looked to be in his prime studying the formation in the desert with a frown. From the faint haze that was slowly rising around him, one could tell that he was a fairy immortal expert. Zhao Qing was from the Zhao family and was an expert in playing with insects. By chance, he had found a record of the location of the sealing formation in one of his ancestors' notes. For some reason, the location indicated in the record was very vague. But, with the cultivation base of a heaven immortal and the tens of thousands of giant centipedes he raised, he soon found the location of the formation in the area that was about hundreds of thousands of miles in circumference. What surprised Zhao Qing was that the range of the sealing formation was so wide that it was beyond his expectations. From far away at the edge of the desert, he could sense the suction force of the formation on his divine sense. If it was not for the fact that his cultivation had reached peak fairy immortal, his divine sense might have been absorbed by the formation. Zhao Qing began to carefully study the formation left by his ancestor as he struggled to resist the suction force of the formation. However, not long after he studied it, the giant centipedes scattered around the periphery of the desert sent back a message. A little guy had actually rushed into the desert. Chapter 1692. A little fellow at the worldly immortal stage wasn't worth Zhao Qing's effort to deal with. It was just that this little fellow didn't know what was good for him and actually killed a few giant centipedes. Zhao Qing was a little angry and immediately gave an order to all the giant centipedes in the area to kill that little worm. The sealing array formation was similar to the array formation he used to seal some monstrous beast. Zhao Qing wasn't too surprised about this. After all, everything he learned was inherited from his ancestors. Even if there were all sorts of improvements over the long years, some core things wouldn't change. As long as he studied it for a period of time, he might be able to unravel the secret of this array. This array left behind by his ancestors looked like it had been around for God knows how many years. Even after such a long time, it still had such great power. It could even almost absorb a peak heavenly immortal expert's spiritual consciousness. The power of this array was evident. He didn't know what was sealed, but one thing was for sure. Underneath this array, there was at least a heavenly immortal grade spiritual vein supporting it. Otherwise, such a powerful array wouldn't have been able to last until now. Zhao Qing was very cautious. Let alone studying the array, even if he studied it thoroughly, he didn't have the slightest intention of unraveling the seal. To be sealed by his ancestors, it must be a powerful demonic beast that even his ancestors couldn't kill. Even if he was a peak heavenly immortal, he wasn't arrogant to the point of looking down on everything. The Zhao clan had always been low-key and cautious. The Zhao clan was very strong. As a member of the Zhao clan, Zhao Qing naturally knew that. But he didn't understand why the clan didn't fight for a place in the spiritual realm since they were so strong. Instead, they endured silently. However, the elders in the clan had instructed that many things were arranged by the ancestors. As long as he ascended to the immortal realm, he would naturally know everything. Zhao Qing was already on the verge of ascension. He wasn't in a hurry. As long as he didn't make any mistakes, he would soon know many truths. Since this array was left behind by a certain ancestor, there must be a reason why it wasn't recorded in such detail. Zhao Qing wouldn't rashly destroy the ancestors' arrangements. He was only interested in the sealing array itself. Yang Chen was very unhappy. On his destination side, there was a master of the Zhao family who had already taken the lead. Yang Chen was also very lucky that the master of the Zhao clan did not directly use his divine sense to undo the seal. Instead, he relied on his powerful cultivation to resist the suction of the array formation on his divine sense. Not even a trace of his divine sense entered the seal. This meant that this sealed supreme mystic immortal expert still had a chance of being controlled by Yang Chen. A large number of giant centipedes relentlessly chased after Yang Chen, forcing Yang Chen to be in a constant state of escape. Fortunately, even so, Yang Chen was still able to release his divine sense from time to time, slowly unlocking the seal. Behind these giant centipedes was a peak-level heavenly immortal expert. Thus, Yang Chen dared not casually provoke and kill them off. Should the heavenly immortal disobey him, Yang Chen would have to bear the consequences. Yang Chen wasn't afraid of being hunted down, but he didn't want the opportunity to break the seal to be ruined. In the middle of the desert, Zhao Qing was still studying the sealing array. In the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed. After he finally comprehended something useful from the large-scale formation, he temporarily stopped to take a break. After that, Zhao Qing realized that his little pets had been chasing that little guy for 2 whole years without any result. However, Zhao Qing did not intend to eliminate Yang Chen directly. Anyway, Yang Chen had been circling around the periphery of the desert, so he could not affect Zhao Qing at all. According to Zhao Qing's guess, Yang Chen must have discovered that there were so many giant centipedes here and used his little pet as a training partner to hone his escaping skills. Otherwise, there was no way to explain his behavior of lingering at the edge of the desert when he clearly had the chance to escape. What a smart little guy, Zhao Qing thought in his heart and did not pay any more attention to it. In these 2 years, none of his pets had died. Instead, more and more of them began to chase that little guy. It was obvious that this little guy was smart enough to know what he was doing. Wasn't this kind of life and death experience an inevitable process that a cultivator should accept? Turning his head, Zhao Qing directly threw Yang Chen to the back of his mind. After a short rest, he once again began his own research. He discovered that there was indeed a huge difference between the spirit arrays of his ancestors and the one he was currently learning. Now that he had a very clear understanding of the spirit arrays, he would only need a few years at most to thoroughly understand the mysteries of the spirit arrays, and his ability to control monstrous beasts would also increase by another level. Zhao Qing, who was immersed in his research, did not realize that in these few years, Yang Chen had already circled around the huge desert. The number of giant centipedes chasing Yang Chen had also exceeded thousands, but not a single one had succeeded. As for Yang Chen, after circling around in a big circle, he gradually began to go deeper into the center of the desert. In the next few years, even if he occasionally noticed that Yang Chen's distance into the desert was much farther than before, Zhao Qing would only wishfully think that this was because Yang Chen had more experience, and his cultivation base was rarely improved, so he would make such a move. Anyways, as long as he did not enter within 1,000 miles of his circle, Zhao Qing would not take the initiative to find trouble with a worldly immortal junior. Those pets were enough to make Yang Chen battered. The aura of a heavenly immortal expert was one of the reasons, but the more important reason was that the sealing array beneath his feet seemed to have undergone some changes during this period of time he was studying it. This was the real key that attracted Zhao Qing's attention. As long as he could understand this change, he would be able to completely master this ancestral sealing array. What Zhao Qing did not expect at all was that the change in the sealing array was caused by the little worldly immortal fellow that he did not even put in his eyes. The amount of spiritual sense that Yang Chen had injected was already enough to unlock 70% of the seal. At this speed, in less than 3 to 5 years, Yang Chen would be able to unlock the unknown demon clan expert that was sealed. His wishful thinking and arrogance caused Zhao Qing to finally reap what he sowed. Previously, he had always thought that the change in the array was due to the magic of the ancestral array, and the direction of his research was already wrong. When he discovered that the seal of the sealing array had been unknowingly completely unlocked, he then realized that something was wrong. Unfortunately, it was already too late for him to realize. The array beneath his feet suddenly collapsed, and a majestic spiritual energy rushed into the sky, not dissipating for a long time. Chapter 1693. At this moment, it was useless to think about anything else. The first thing he needed to do was to fly away from the sand dune that was collapsing. That spiritual energy was not enough to scare a peak heaven immortal expert because it was just a spiritual vein that had been suppressed for a long time and suddenly erupted. However, what was hidden behind it was exceptionally terrifying. Zhao Qing knew very well that this spiritual vein was the source of the spiritual energy of the sealing formation. Originally, all the spiritual energy was absorbed by the sealing formation, and a large part of it was used to nourish the mysterious demon beast that was sealed. But what did this sudden eruption mean? Other than the formation being broken and the seal being released, there was no other explanation. The sealing formation had actually been unraveled right under his nose without a sound. He had actually been completely unaware of it. The implications of this directly gave him a huge fright. What was even more frightening was that the mysterious demon beast that was sealed had not leaked a trace of its aura until now. Even with Zhao Qing's peak heaven immortal strength, he could not detect any traces of it. Zhao Qing was 100% sure that the center of the sealing formation was right under his feet, which meant that the sealed demon beast must be right under his feet. But now, within 1,000 miles, Zhao Qing did not find any other living beings other than his pets. Not only that, there were at least tens of thousands of giant centipedes as pets within 1,000 miles, but they did not find any signs of abnormality. The unknown was the most terrifying, and this also applied to Heaven Immortal Expert. This was especially true when Zhao Qing was unable to find any clues despite using all of his abilities. As a Heaven Immortal Expert, there were times when he needed to be decisive. Any unnecessary hesitation could very well be the beginning of a disaster. Perhaps it was because he had his own pride as a peak Heaven Immortal Expert and felt that there were not many experts in the spiritual realm that could threaten him. After hesitating for a moment, he did not escape immediately. When Zhao Qing planned to pack up all his pets and bring them away, it was already destined that he would not have much chance of survival. In fact, Yang Chun did not give him a choice. Even if Zhao Qing flew away when the spiritual energy exploded, he would not be able to escape the attack range of the mysterious demon beast. The moment the sealing formation was opened, Yang Chun knew what the sealed demon beast was. It was an incomparably large earth dragon, which was also commonly known as an earthworm. The earth dragon's body had been constantly nourished by a Heaven Immortal grade spirit vein for a long period of time, and had grown to an unbelievable stage. The entire desert had a radius of tens of thousands of miles, and more than half of it was occupied by the earth dragon. One could only imagine how huge this earth dragon was. The reason why Yang Chun could feel the existence of the seal formation on the edge of the desert was that the seal formation itself had been supported to this point by the crazily growing earth dragon. Even though the core of the sealing formation was still at the very center, the range of the formation had forcibly expanded from tens of kilometers to tens of thousands of kilometers. Even if Yang Chun used the flying shuttle's maximum speed, it would not to be tens of thousands of miles in such a short time. Moreover, Zhao Qing's speed was much faster than the flying shuttle. A mountain of flesh directly tore through the earth and stood tall in the sky, then heavily smashed towards Zhao Qing, who was busy collecting his pets. Chi sounds quickly rang out. Dozens of light rays rose from Zhao Qing's body and pierced straight into the mountain of flesh, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. The mountain of flesh seemed to be unable to withstand a single blow, not even the slightest bit of resistance, as it was pierced into its flesh. Dozens of clear liquid flowed out of the punctured wound. This was Zhao Qing's specialty knife formation. As long as one was surrounded by the knife formation, no matter how strong one was, there would be no other ending other than being sliced into pieces within the knife formation. This was Zhao Qing's confidence and strength as a peak heaven immortal expert. So what if the mountain of flesh was big? Just looking at how easily it cut through flesh, the end result would be just pieces of minced meat. The size of the meat pieces also depended on Zhao Qing's mood. However, the knife formation that Zhao Qing was so proud of disappeared without a trace not long after entering the mountain of flesh. Not to mention a trace, even the spiritual connection between it and Zhao Qing was completely severed. Zhao Qing himself could no longer control it. The current situation did not allow Zhao Qing to consider what had happened to the knife formation. The huge mountain of flesh directly covered the sky, and at this moment, it was slamming down solidly on his head. As the distance closed in, Zhao Qing could feel the extremely terrifying power contained within the mountain of flesh. All the defensive treasures were used by Zhao Qing in this instant, creating a circular ball of light with a radius of several tens of feet around Zhao Qing's body. Zhao Qing only had time to do all this before the mountain of flesh had already slammed heavily onto the ball of light. Pa! A crisp sound rang out as if a balloon had been burst. The circular ball of light did not even last for a second before it was directly smashed. Zhao Qing's body was also directly smashed into the soft desert by the mountain of flesh, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Zhao Qing, who had instantly sunk into darkness, could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, he finally felt a deep sense of fear. What exactly was that mountain of flesh? Why was it so shockingly powerful? A wise man submits to circumstances. Zhao Qing was able to cultivate to the peak of the heavenly immortal stage, so he was definitely an expert among experts. At this moment, he did not even have the slightest bit of hope in his mind. How could he still care about his pet? The most important thing was to be able to escape with his life. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Qing was already tens of miles away. However, this distance was nothing compared to the huge mountain of flesh. Zhao Qing did not relax at all. He continuously used the earth escape technique, not daring to take a single breath. When he was 1,000 miles away, Zhao Qing finally let out a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to continue escaping, his body involuntarily flew upwards. In a state of great shock, Zhao Qing hurriedly used his spiritual sense to investigate his surroundings. However, within 1,000 miles, he did not discover anything other than sand. Further away, there seemed to be nothing at all. When he used his spiritual sense to investigate, it was actually a stretch of nothingness. In the midst of his shock and bewilderment, the sand around his body suddenly began to compress violently. All the gaps seemed to have been completely squeezed out in an instant. In the blink of an eye, the desert with a radius of 1,000 miles had become a piece of tightly compressed rock. The omnipresent power of fear directly locked Zhao Qing's body firmly in the rock. No matter how Zhao Qing used his escape technique, he was unable to move his body at all. If someone were to observe from high up in the sky, with their eyes still able to see through the ground, they would definitely discover that the ground had just arched up a part of the Earth Dragon's figure. After that, Zhao Qing had escaped 1,000 miles away, but he was directly swallowed into the stomach of a huge mouth. Chapter 1694. As soon as Yang Chen unlocked the seal, he communicated with the spiritual awareness of the Earth Dragon. What surprised Yang Chen was that before, whether it was Old Insect or Old High, they were all monster race cultivators, and as soon as they communicated, they could immediately give clear feedback. But now the Earth Dragon was different, it just gave Yang Chen a very friendly thought, nothing else. Even if Yang Chen sent the transformation secret art over, the other party was indifferent, but the meaning of Yang Chen's intention to deal with the fairy immortal master was executed very thoroughly. Yang Chen watched all this happen from thousands of miles away, but even if the spiritual awareness reached the level of Yang Chen, the spiritual awareness threads that were condensed from the three purities' secret art fell on the body of the Earth Dragon, it could not detect the body of the Earth Dragon. If it weren't for the huge body of the Earth Dragon covering tens of thousands of miles, Yang Chen could hardly believe that there was such a behemoth over there. There was no response to the transformation's secret art, and soon Yang Chen realized that the Earth Dragon had not yet reached the point where its mind was fully opened. Perhaps it was because the seal had been too long, leading to degradation, or perhaps it had not developed to that point in the beginning. The current realm of the Earth Dragon was at most the same as those ordinary demon pets, and could only communicate with simple consciousness. There was no need to think about talking, it was not even as good as Xiao Tian. Actually, this situation was understandable. The Earth Dragon was not an intelligent demonic beast to begin with. Under the nourishment of an enormous amount of spiritual power, it was already very difficult for it to raise its strength to the level of a grand supreme mystic immortal. It was even more difficult for it to be smart and quick-witted. Furthermore, it had been sealed for an unknown amount of time. Fortunately, the Peak Fairy Immortal Master, for some reason, did not open the seal, and did not even input a trace of spiritual awareness into the seal formation, so that Yang Chen almost picked up this bargain in front of him. The Earth Dragon was naturally kind to Yang Chen, and the Fairy Immortal Master was out of luck. With just one strike, the Earth Dragon let Yang Chen see the incomparably terrifying strength of its huge body. The powerful saber formation easily broke the Earth Dragon's defense, but to the Earth Dragon, whose body was tens of thousands of miles long, the small saber formation couldn't even penetrate its skin, and was immediately stuck in its flesh, unable to move. No matter how powerful a magic treasure was, it would be useless once it was severed from its master's divine sense. When the Earth Dragon opened its mouth, it covered a radius of 1,000 miles. Not only did it swallow the Peak Heaven Immortal Expert, it also swallowed all the giant centipedes that were scattered around the area. Yang Chen had no enmity with that Heaven Immortal Expert, and Yang Chen would not have the intention to kill before they even met. Therefore, the expert was still alive. However, those giant centipedes were not so lucky. Tens of thousands of giant centipedes, which were close to the Earth Immortal level, were simply a great supplement for the Earth Dragons. One bite wasn't enough, so it opened its mouth and sucked. Those giant centipedes scattered around the periphery were involuntarily swallowed along with a large amount of sand. In the blink of an eye, the group of giant centipedes that were chasing after Yang Chen arrogantly became the meat on the Earth Dragon's plate. Not a single one escaped. Zhao Qing, who was trapped in the stone ball and unable to move, used all his strength, but he still couldn't move an inch. His escape technique, which had worked hundreds of times in the past, was now completely useless. In this kind of stone ball that was as hard as steel, it was already the Earth Dragon's mercy that Zhao Qing didn't die. There was no need to think about anything else. Soon, under Yang Chen's command, the stone ball that was wrapped around Zhao Qing was sent to Yang Chen. Then, it was peeled off layer by layer, and soon, Zhao Qing's head was revealed. And Zhao Qing's Qinquan bag was also sent to Yang Chen's hands. Who would have thought that in a moment of carelessness, there would be a sailboat in the gutter? The moment he saw Yang Chen, Zhao Qing knew Yang Chen's identity. This human immortal level little guy was clearly the little toy that his pet had been chasing after. He didn't think that the two of them would meet under such circumstances. However, Zhao Qing wasn't willing to accept this. The moment he opened his mouth, he clearly expressed his anger. What he said was the truth. If he found out that Yang Chen was here, he would immediately come out to kill Yang Chen personally. This definitely wouldn't have happened. Unfortunately, everyone wanted to eat medicine for regret, but there was no place to buy it. Senior, don't worry about it. On the path of cultivation, there is no smooth road. There are always ups and downs. Yang Chen didn't care about Zhao Qing's attitude. What he wanted to know was his identity, and why he made a special trip here. One must know that he had stayed in the core of the ceiling formation for more than 10 years. To say that he had nothing to do with the formation, who would believe it? Humph! Yang Chen's words didn't make Zhao Qing feel any better. Instead, he snorted coldly. After being humiliated by a human immortal junior, if not for the fact that he had no choice, Zhao Qing would have already made a move. I have yet to ask for senior's name. Yang Chen's words were very polite, but his subordinates weren't polite at all. They had already opened Zhao Qing's Qinquan bag and slowly flipped through this fella's belongings. In Zhao Qing's silence, Yang Chen quickly flipped through some items that could prove Zhao Qing's identity. Then, a surprised smile appeared on his face. I can wear out iron shoes in fruitless search, but by chance I find it by chance. Yang Chen didn't know how to celebrate his good luck. Who would have thought that while he unlocked the seal and obtained a Grand Supreme Mystic Immortal expert, he would also find a member of the Zhao family, and a big shot at that. He was at the pinnacle of the Sky Immortal realm. Just his cultivation alone was enough to make the Zhao family treat him like an ancestor. Presumably, he knew a lot of things. The only pity was that the other party's cultivation was too high. Whether it was spiritual force or spiritual sense, it was much higher than Yang Chen's. It wasn't that easy to get information from him. With a simple thought, the Earth Dragon, Yang Chen, and Zhao Qing, who had just been freed, were swallowed in one gulp. In the stomach of the Earth Dragon, Yang Chen didn't have to worry about any accidents happening. Even if there were some things, he could say them without worry. If the other party wasn't a member of the Zhao family, Yang Chen would at most ask a few simple questions and find an opportunity to release him. But since he was an expert from the Zhao family, then Yang Chen couldn't be blamed for being ruthless. What are you doing? The Zhao family's Zhao Qing watched in horror as Yang Chen chopped off his limbs without hesitation, and then crippled his cultivation. The hatred in his heart was at its peak, but what followed was a deep sense of fear. How much could a worldly immortal junior gain from a pinnacle of the sky immortal realm expert? Any cultivator would understand that Zhao Qing had already thought this through, but he didn't expect Yang Chen to be so ruthless. He actually didn't want to give him any chance to retaliate. Chapter 1695. When Yang Chen left the desert, it didn't look like a desert at all. The last thing Zhao Qing heard was Yang Chen whispering in his ear, "Every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor." Yang Chen and the Zhao family were mortal enemies. Yang Chen felt no pressure accepting this karma. However, the tenacity of this heaven immortal expert from the Zhao family was beyond Yang Chen's expectations. It was easy to destroy a person's cultivation, but it was extremely difficult to open a person's heart. Although Zhao Qing didn't have the cultivation of a heaven immortal, he still had the will of a heaven immortal. As a result, Yang Chen's hypnosis didn't have a complete effect on him. Of course, it didn't have any effect at all. At the very least, when Yang Chen destroyed his opponent to the point where he was on the verge of collapse, he still managed to get some information. This guy didn't answer the specific location of the Zhao family until he died, but Yang Chen knew that the Zhao family controlled a rogue cultivator alliance. To be honest, Yang Chen didn't know much about the Zhao family. Even Zhao Qing himself didn't know the Zhao family's goal, so there was no need to tell Yang Chen. In addition to some cultivation books, this guy's Qinquan bag also had some things he bought from various places. From this, Lin Fan was able to determine some of his activities. Of course, Yang Chen wouldn't do these things himself. Now that the mysterious Heaven sect was the leader of the Tao sects, there was no need for Yang Chen to do anything. However, he still had to plan how to hand Zhao Qing's things over to the mysterious Heaven sect. After all, the real Yang Chen was still in Chunyang Palace refining pills in seclusion, wasn't he? In addition, there was one more thing on Yang Chen's body. It was a maroon bracelet. Apart from being slightly round, the carving on it was very rough. It didn't look very eye-catching. If someone had seen the scene of the Earth Dragon torturing Zhao Qing, they would definitely wonder why Yang Chen's bracelet was the same color as the Earth Dragon. This bracelet was transformed from the gigantic Earth Dragon. A grand supreme mystic immortal Earth Dragon would definitely be able to control its body completely. Even if its intelligence was not developed, it would still be a piece of cake for it to transform into a bracelet. The Earth Dragon was still in the form of a demonic beast, and it was so powerful. Yang Chen naturally couldn't let it go. He had to keep it by his side and control it at all times. No one would reject a supreme mystic immortal bodyguard, right? There was another advantage to bringing along the Earth Dragon, which was that the weight of its huge body was almost comparable to that of the purified bottles in the herb garden. When Yang Chen used the identity of Lu Xiang, it was not good to use the pure bottle medicine garden at any time and place, so even the normal yellow turban strongman body refining technique was stopped. Now that he had the Earth Dragon bracelet, he could make up for this regret. In order to cover up everything that happened here, Yang Chen even let the Earth Dragon directly open its mouth and swallow a large piece of desert together with the spiritual vein. In this way, there would be no traces of fighting left here. Even if someone came to investigate, they would not find any clues. On the other hand, because the Earth Dragon had swallowed tens of thousands of giant centipedes that were close to the Earth Immortal level, plus the huge desert, it really took a while to digest, so it was just too lazy to move. Yang Chen naturally gave it a sense of closeness. Staying on Yang Chen's body was just right for cultivation. The Earth Dragon had the instinct to shield spiritual sense. Even Yang Chen's spiritual sense could not find the trace of the Earth Dragon at a close distance. Now that it had turned into a bracelet, it would not attract the attention of others. It was estimated that only the people around Yang Chen would notice that there was an additional ornament on Yang Chen's hand, but no one would have thought that this bracelet was actually alive. Now, Yang Chen was really not afraid of anything. With the Earth Dragon bodyguard at the Grand Supreme Xian Immortal level, as long as he was not besieged by a few Grand Supreme Xian Immortals, Yang Chen would always have a chance to escape or even fight back against the enemy. The Earth Dragon had no intelligence, so it had no name and could not talk. This was just right. Yang Chen treated the Earth Dragon as his pet, and when the time was right, he would give it to one of the women around him. In the blink of an eye, 30 years had passed. Yang Chen unlocked the seal of an expert without anyone knowing. At the same time, he also killed a Heaven Immortal expert from the Zhao family and found some clues. It was time to go back and plan to give these things to the Xiantian sect so that they could charge and break through the enemy lines. Lu Xiang, an unremarkable disciple of Chunyang Palace who had been out for 30 years, returned to the sect in a very low-key manner and began to cultivate in seclusion. No one paid much attention to anything else. Naturally, Yang Chen returned to his original identity and appeared in front of everyone. During this seclusion, Yang Chen refined another batch of 5 revolutions marrow pill. There were more than 100 pills in total, which was enough for the Wanbao Tower to consume for a long time. Next, Yang Chen naturally could not only refine the marrow pill, but changed to another kind of pill that everyone needed. The appearance pill was the pill that almost all female cultivators dreamed of in the mortal world. In the spiritual world, because the second revolution pill refined by Yang Chen was not effective enough to meet the needs of female cultivators in the spiritual world, there had been no market for it. But this did not mean that the female cultivators who had used the appearance pill or heard of the appearance pill would forget about it. It was one thing for Yang Chen to break through to the realm of alchemy, but when he was free, Yang Chen still needed to refine some 4th and 5th revolution appearance pill to meet the needs of female cultivators. Yang Chen was now very familiar with refining the 5 revolutions marrow pill. For the appearance pill, which was slightly less difficult, there was almost nothing that could baffle Yang Chen. The only thing to consider was that the medicinal materials must be old enough to have a better effect. In the spiritual world, perhaps there was no shortage of elixirs that were more than 10,000 years old, or even longer. This was not the mortal world. Cultivators would ascend after more than 1,000 years, at most 2,000 years. Usually, in the spiritual world, even geniuses with good aptitudes had to stay for 3,000 to 4,000 years. There were indeed a lot of elixirs accumulated by the sect. Honestly, according to the refining technique of the appearance pill, Yang Chen refined 2 furnaces of appearance pill, one for the 4th revolution and one for the 5th revolution. Although Yang Chen could now refine the 6th grade medicinal pill, Yang Chen still refrained from taking out the best. Women, he always had to let them have some sense of expectation. The pill recipe of the appearance pill, Yang Chen kept it for himself and never sold it. Yang Chen said in advance that this was a little capital for himself to support his family, and no one had any objections to this. This time, Yang Chen took out these appearance pill. The first thing was to win over the 2 sect, Green Jade Immortal Island and Blue Cloud sect. Of course, most of the female cultivators were extremely interested in this. Chapter 1696. It was not that no one in the spiritual world had refined similar appearance pill. Even not only in the spiritual world, but also in the mortal world and the immortal world, there were people who loved beauty, and there were many similar appearance pill. However, not everyone could refine a pill that was as effective as Fairy Chong Yi's. It must be known that Fairy Chong Yi also spent countless efforts to get such a pill recipe from the old lord. It was originally for the use of the great principal golden immortal. Even if Yang Chen had simplified it a lot, it was still extraordinary for the female cultivators in the mortal world and the spiritual world. There were not only 1 or 2 alchemists who saw the needs of female cultivators. Even many alchemists in Danding School had refined appearance pill. In the mortal world, although these medicinal pills were not as enchanting as Yang Chen's appearance pill, which could keep one's appearance unchanged for thousands of years, the effect was not as good, and it could also keep one's appearance unchanged for 400 or 500 years. The realm of the cultivators in the spiritual world was generally improved, and the effect of medicinal pills in the mortal world was far from keeping up. Even if there were 4th, 5th, or even 6th or 7th revolutions, it could at best let female cultivators maintain their appearance for a few decades. As for achieving Yang Chen's appearance pill's rejuvenation in the mortal world, it was simply impossible. Not to mention other people's medicinal pills, even Yang Chen's appearance pill, with the same original medicinal materials, it was impossible to have that kind of rejuvenation effect. Aging was the general trend, which could not be made up by a mere medicinal pill, unless enough natural treasures could be found to make up for it. Yang Chen understood this very well, so when refining this time, he deliberately added a raw material to the appearance pill's recipe. Strictly speaking, it was not a medicinal material, it was just the flower of a Zhu's main body in the medicine garden. A Zhu's main body was a peach tree. Later, after Yang Chen found the immortal peach of South Pole Immortal One, the peach pit was absorbed by a Zhu. The peaches of the South Pole Immortal One were absolutely the best for replenishing one's vitality and essence, and even a Zhu had some of this effect. The peach trees bloomed, and after the flowers withered, they naturally fell to the ground. In the herb garden, they returned to the herb garden and became the fertilizer to nourish the herb garden. However, Yang Chen asked Azu to keep all the petals. The petals contained the breath of the immortal peach. Although the life force essence contained in them was not enough to change the acquired spiritual root, it could be used in the spiritual world. After the 4th or 5th revolution refinement, it could be used to make up for the lost essence of some cultivators, and it could barely achieve the effect of restoring one's youth. Back then, the South Pole Immortal Ones Immortal Crane and Sika Deer had placed the immortal peach in the mortal world, while the other had left it in the spirit realm. It was said that the immortal peach in the spirit realm had already sprouted and grown into a huge tree. After this busy period, Yang Chen also wanted to go there and harvest the whole fairy peach tree. At that time, he believed that the effect of the appearance pill would be even stronger. Yang Chun packaged all the appearance pills separately. Each appearance pill was matched with a crystal-clear jade bottle engraved with a sealing array. This appearance alone could increase the overall price by 30%. In recent years, the spiritual world has been basically calm and there have been no twists and turns, but Yang Chun knew that this peace would soon be broken. Within 1,000 years, the spiritual world would come. What Yang Chun could do was to try his best to build himself and the Chunyang Palace before that tribulation, and to be in an invincible position in advance. After staying in the sect for a while, Yang Chun went out again and went straight to the Green Jade Immortal Island. What is this? Looking at a very exquisite jade bottle that Yang Chun took out, Shi Shanshan nestled in Yang Chun's arms, took it in her hand and looked at it carefully before asking lazily. At this time, Shi Shanshan didn't have the coldness of the cold plum fairy in the eyes of outsiders. Her face was full of a radiant blush. She was hugged by Yang Chun from behind. She was simply a bright young woman, not the cold plum fairy in people's minds. 5th grade appearance pill. Yang Chun replied with a smile, buried his head in the back of Shi Shanshan's neck, gently smelling the beautiful smell of his wife. It's a gift for your elders to flatter them. When he was in the mortal world, because Shi Shanshan was ignored in the sect, Yang Chun once had an outburst. After Shi Shanshan knew about it, she was even more devoted to her husband. Now that she heard that it was her husband who gave her face, there was a burst of warmth in her heart. She turned around and took the initiative to kiss Yang Chun. It was not until a few days after Yang Chun and Shi Shanshan got together that Yang Chun and Shi Shanshan came to the original Lord of Tantai together. Then, under the introduction of the Lord of Tantai, they met the current island master of the Green Jade Immortal Island. With Yang Chun's identity in the spiritual world, without the introduction of a character like the Lord of Tantai, if he wanted to meet the island master of the Green Jade Immortal Island directly, he didn't even need to think about it. Even if Shi Shanshan was a disciple of the Green Jade Immortal Island, she did not have this kind of treatment. After all, Shi Shanshan had only ascended for more than 100 years. The most tender junior was still far from being qualified. The current island master also looked like a middle-aged beautiful woman. Her cultivation base was already at the 1st grade of Heaven Immortal. She was in her prime and there were no signs of aging. However, among the elders next to her, there were at least 3 of them who looked like old women with chicken skin and crane hair. This is the 5th grade appearance pill? The island master didn't seem to need to use the appearance pill for the time being, so she directly handed the appearance pill to one of the 3 elders. The other party took the jade bottle and rubbed it for a long time before he raised his head and asked with some doubts. Yes, this is the 5th grade appearance pill that this younger generation junior refined himself. In the face of the elder-level figures of the Green Jade Immortal Island, Yang Chun was also very polite. First, it was out of the etiquette of the younger generation. Second, the 3 elders in front of him were the best advertising spokespersons for his appearance pill. People who could bring benefits to himself. Yang Chun was usually very polite. I have eaten a lot of appearance pill, but in the situation of the old woman, there is not much difference whether I eat more or less, unless my cultivation base can go further. The female elder didn't believe in Yang Chun's medicinal pill very much. Although she had heard of Yang Chun's name, after all, Yang Chun was only a 5th grade alchemist master. Even the 6th and 7th grade alchemist master couldn't do it, a mere 5th grade alchemist master. She really didn't dare to have much hope. Even if Yang Chun was the leader among the 5th grade alchemist masters, there was no 5th grade alchemist master more powerful than Yang Chun, but Yang Chun couldn't be compared with the real 6th or 7th grade alchemist master. If it weren't for Yang Chun's appearance pill in the mortal world, the female cultivators in the world would flock to it. It was estimated that these people wouldn't even be interested in it. Well, this old woman will risk her life to accompany the gentleman and try your 5th grade appearance pill. Just now, it seemed that she had made a burst of emotion. After the emotion, the female elder opened the jade bottle and took out the 5th-grade dragon mark appearance pill and sent it to her mouth. Everyone else stared at the female elder nervously, waiting for the effect of the medicine to take effect. Chapter 1697. All the female cultivators hoped that Yang Chun could come up with the appearance pill that was as effective as the mortal world, but most of the female cultivators present were not optimistic that Yang Chun could really come up with it. Those who really had confidence in Yang Chun, apart from Yang Chun himself, were Yang Chen's wife, Shi Shanshan, and the Lord of Tantai. The high-level members of the Green Jade Immortal Island had seen how many alchemy masters had come up with the appearance pill. There were alchemy masters of the 6th and 7th grade, but none of them had really worked for people in their realm. To be honest, this was no longer a question of how many revolutions the medicinal pill could be refined, it was purely a matter of raw materials. Shi Shanshan was Yang Chen's wife. Even if everyone in the world did not believe in Yang Chen, she could not help but believe it. The Lord of Tantai had too many dealings with Yang Chen when he was in the mortal world, and knew that Yang Chen would not lie in this situation. And from the heart of the Lord of Tantai, she also expected Yang Chen to really come up with this appearance pill. After all, the Lord of Tantai would also have a day when he looked old. The female elder had taken the medicinal pill for almost half an hour, and it seemed that there was no change. However, the female elder did not speak, just closed her eyes to refine the medicinal power. No one spoke, they just waited quietly. Finally, the female elder slowly opened her eyes, and her eyes were full of incredible surprise. After taking a long breath, she stood up. Sure enough, it's useless. The 2 old female elders who were watching on the sidelines were disappointed in their hearts. They thought that Yang Chen, a different alchemy master, could bring some surprises to everyone, but they did not expect the result to still be like this. Sure enough, he is the strongest alchemy master in the past 1,000 years. Completely different from the disappointment of the 2 elders beside her, after consuming the medicine, the female elder's face was filled with uncontrollable joy. The moment she opened her mouth, she praised loudly. As soon as the female elder spoke, everyone was at a loss. Their gazes all focused on the female elder's face, wanting to see if she had made a mistake. It was clearly ineffective, so why would the elder say such a thing? Without waiting for the elder to explain, everyone suddenly discovered a small difference. Compared to his previous state of being like a candle in the wind, the skin on the elder's face was clearly a little more radiant. That's right, the elder gave off a feeling of vitality and vigor. It was as if his aged body contained a youthful soul that was sprouting like a seed, trying to break free from the shackles of his aged skin and struggle out. This is? What's going on? Even the island lord was attracted by the changes in the elder's body and couldn't help but ask. The elder has been in this state for too long. It will take some time for the medicinal effect to be fully exerted. As an alchemy master, Yang Chen stood at the side and began to explain, when this junior refines the pill, he basically controls this period of time. Seeing that the other elders were about to speak, he smiled and added, "Believe me, you will never want to suddenly regain your youth, that will only be a waste of the medicinal effect." Originally, the elders wanted to ask such a question, but Yang Chen said it in advance, blocking their words in their chest, making them very uncomfortable. They wanted to ask why, but they were afraid that if they opened their mouth, they would show their ignorance. That would be too embarrassing. If you want to regain your youth in a short period of time, then you must stimulate the medicinal effect. Yang Chen did not let everyone wait for too long. After a moment of confusion, he immediately continued to explain. This part of the medicinal effect can make a cultivator in the early stage of Heaven Immortal maintain his youthful appearance for about 300 to 500 years. If it changes slowly, at most 2 months, he will slowly regain his youth. In contrast, there was no need for Yang Chen to say more, everyone could understand. As long as he endured 2 months of slow recovery, he would be able to retain 300 to 500 years of youth. and the price of wanting to regain his youth immediately was to lose 300 to 500 years of youth. Was there a need to calculate this account? Not to mention a cultivator with a lifespan of thousands of years, even an ordinary person would know how to choose. Among those present, it was estimated that only Shi Shanshan was not so surprised. The body refining technique she cultivated was passed down by Fairy Chang'e. Without the appearance pill, she did not have to worry about becoming old in thousands of years. Besides, did she not know Yang Chen's habits? The best things would definitely be reserved for his own people. Those who took it out to flatter him were obviously inferior. Even the Lord of Tantai, who had always believed that Yang Chen could refine the appearance pill, could not help but be ecstatic. If it worked on the Elder of Heaven Immortal realm, it meant that she could maintain her youthful appearance in the spiritual realm. For a woman, this was simply the happiest thing. Yang Chen said that it would take about 2 months to fully show the effect. Everyone was an expert in cultivation, so no one urged him and just waited quietly. 2 months was just a drop in the ocean for cultivators, and it would pass in the blink of an eye. During these 2 months, the elder's appearance changed almost every day, and she looked like she was 1 year younger every day. With this almost visible change, the smile on the female elder's face never stopped. The confident smile coupled with the younger skin and appearance made her exude a unique charm. Under everyone's eyes, an old woman, in just 2 months, became a beautiful woman in the prime of her youth day by day, hour by hour. The youthful vitality exuded from an old body little by little, making people have no doubt about the magic of Yang Chen's medicinal pill. From the island master to the elders of the Green Jade Immortal Island, when they learned of this news, they were almost overjoyed. For many years in the spiritual realm, there has never been such a medicinal pill that could make female cultivators completely crazy. Now the genius alchemist Yang Chen of Chunyang Palace had refined such a medicinal pill. This could be said to be the best gift from heaven. The only thing that everyone was worried about was the number of medicinal pills of Yang Chen, whether they could get their turn and what price they would have to pay. After all, Yang Chen said at the beginning that the raw materials for refining this appearance pill were very rare, and the quantity must be limited. It was not an easy thing to get this appearance pill from Yang Chen. At this point, Yang Chen has never concealed it. The appearance pill in the mortal world was a big source of revenue for Wanbao Tower, even in the spiritual realm. Chapter 1698. In the face of the high-level officials of the Green Jade Immortal Island, who were not very familiar with him and had not dealt with much, Yang Chen also sent 3 fifth-grade appearance pill in addition to the one he tested. This was a huge advertising effect, and it was also a huge favor to the Green Jade Immortal Island. Now all the high-level officials of the Green Jade Immortal Island knew this genius alchemist who had once set off a great sensation in the mortal world. He was worthy of being a genius alchemist master. Many people began to re-recognize Yang Chen and readjusted their attitude toward Chunyang Palace, including the island master of the Green Jade Immortal Island. If the 5th-grade marrow pill only proved the level of Yang Chen's alchemy, then the current appearance pill had completely changed the view of the high-level officials of the Green Jade Immortal Island. Even they themselves could not resist the temptation. How many of those ordinary disciples could resist it? Yang Chen's words were very clear. The 5th-grade appearance pill was the best. It could only be given by Yang Chen, and could only be exchanged with a favor. If other female cultivators wanted it, it could only be the 4th-grade appearance pill. The effect was not as long-lasting as the 5th grade, but it could also maintain the youthful appearance for hundreds of years. The 4th-grade appearance pill was exclusively sold in the Wanbao Tower. Every month, an auction would be held in the Sunset Rock to determine the ownership of the only few appearance pills. It was believed that this alone could bring a huge flow of customers and spirit stones to the Wanbao Tower. Adding up to 5 5th-grade appearance pill, it also made the high-level officials look at their disciple Shi Shanshan with new eyes again. If it weren't for this genius disciple, How could the sect get such a precious thing? Needless to say, in the future, the high-level officials would know how to treat Sher Shanshan. If she wanted the 5th grade appearance pill, it was estimated that except for Sher Shanshan, it was impossible for others in the sect. In the mortal world, the Lord of Tantai and the core elders of that generation were also praised by the high-level officials. If they didn't rely on Sher Shanshan's good marriage to tie with Yang Chen when they were in the mortal world, where would they have this opportunity now? As long as it was a woman, even if it was a female cultivator who was about to ascend, it was impossible to refuse the temptation of eternal youth. For the time being, the news was only circulated among the high-level officials of the Green Jade Immortal Island. Yang Chen said that he would go to the Blue Cloud sect, then to the Qiankuan sect and the Five Elements sect, and finally to the Xiantian sect. They all had wives and concubines, so Yang Chen couldn't favor one. From now on, the 10,000 treasure tower would handle the face-retaining pills, but it would not be publicized. If the Green Jade Immortal Island wanted it, they must seize the opportunity. This kind of beautifying medicinal pill had always been sold. If the Myriad Treasure Tower did not publicize the medicinal effects wantonly, presumably many people would not believe it. In addition, the Wanbao Tower auction, the price would not be low. If the operation was good, while the reputation of the appearance pill had not spread, it was still possible to grab a batch first. Yang Chen's words have been very clear, especially emphasizing that this was for the sake of Sher Shanshan. The high-level officials of the Green Jade Immortal Island were very grateful and immediately arranged for people to buy it. A core elder of the high level even specially accompanied Yang Chen to visit the Green Jade Immortal Island and invited Yang Chen to the internal auction of the sect. After that, he let Yang Chen leave. From the beginning to the end, it was more than a month. The Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island were basically the same. After meeting with Sun Qingxue, under the introduction of the Blue Cloud sect's mortal sect master and elder, he met the high-level officials of the Blue Cloud sect in the spiritual world. After the same fairy immortal level elder tried the pill, the high-level officials of the Blue Cloud sect woke up like a dream and went to the Sunset Rock to snatch the appearance pill. Compared with the Green Jade Immortal Island and Blue Cloud sect, where most of them were women, the importance of the Qiankuan sect and the Five Elements sect was much smaller. However, after really seeing the effect of the appearance pill, the two major sects also sent disciples to the Sunset Rock to operate this matter. Even if most male cultivators don't care about this, which cultivator doesn't have a few female confidants, right? Sending medicine to advertise for favors was one purpose, and the other purpose was naturally to visit his wives and concubines. Basically, so far, the four major sects have completely recognized Yang Chen's means. For Yang Chen's women, the sect has taken great care of them, and they will never appear in the mortal world of the Green Jade Immortal Island to treat Sher Shanshan. The last stop was the Profound Heaven sect. Since it was in the name of seeing his wives and concubines, Yang Chen certainly couldn't miss Tao Junkie in the Profound Heaven sect. Even if there were many disciples in the Profound Heaven sect who secretly wanted to tear Yang Chen to pieces, Yang Chen's visit to the sect couldn't be ignored. Especially under the care of the high-level officials, Yang Chen easily met Tao Junkie. Before coming to the Profound Heaven sect, Yang Chen also thought about how to hand over Zhao Qing's things to the high-level officials of the Profound Heaven sect. On the way, he had found a gap and disappeared for a period of time. It wasn't a long time, only a few months, but it was enough for him to arrange everything. When Tao Junkie saw Yang Chen, she was naturally very happy, especially now that the reputation of the appearance pill had begun to spread. Her husband had this kind of means. Tao Junkie, as a woman, was of course more and more happy. With the example of the four major sects, Yang Chen obviously came to the sect to give a favor. After Tao Junkie reported, the high-level officials of the Profound Heaven sect were very reluctant to meet Yang Chen. The reputation of the appearance pill had spread far and wide, so naturally, there was no need to verify it. All the processes were similar to the other 4 major sects. Yang Chen gave 5 Fifth Revolution appearance pill, and the high-level officials of the Profound Heaven sect were very happy. They sent people to deal with this matter and encouraged Tao Junkie to get close to Yang Chen and make new contributions. After all the complicated procedures were done, when Tao Junkie was also sent away by the high-level officials, leaving only Yang Chen and the high-level officials of the Profound Heaven sect, Yang Chen greeted the elders again and then presented his gifts again. Each elder had 1 Fifth Revolution marrow pill and 5th Revolution appearance pill. Sect leader Wang, Elder Li, and Elder Lu of the Law Enforcement Hall had different identities, so each of them had 2. The elders felt at ease with the filial piety of the younger generation, and they all praised Yang Chen for being a good person. In the core conference hall of the sect, there was endless laughter. When everyone accepted Yang Chen's gifts and began to talk about business, they all sat down and listened to Yang Chen talk about the development of the sect in Chunyang Palace over the years and what he had encountered. "Did you have any trouble on the way this time?" Elder Li was relatively more concerned about Yang Chen's whereabouts, so after Yang Chen finished talking, he specifically asked, "Why did it take you more than 2 months to get here after coming out of the 5 Elements sect?" It usually only took 1.5 months for the 5 Elements sect to get here. In the remaining half a month, Yang Chen's whereabouts had disappeared from people's sight, so Elder Li asked this question. "On the way to the sect this time, someone guessed my itinerary and sent an expert to kill me." Yang Chen followed his previous arrangements and naturally put the matter of him being attacked in front of the core high-level officials of the Profound Heaven sect. "What?" The high-level officials of the Profound Heaven sect suddenly became angry. Chapter 1699. Hearing that Yang Chen had been ambushed, the people of the Xiantian sect already had a bad look on their faces. Especially when they were ambushed on the way to the Xiantian sect, it was as if they had been slapped directly in the face. If they weren't even safe around the mysterious Heaven sect's territory, what would people think of the mysterious Heaven sect? What kind of person has the guts to do this? Who is it? Exterminate his entire family. Elder Li was furious. Yang Chen was the junior he was most optimistic about. Although he couldn't announce it to the public, everyone knew that he was a guest who had come to visit the sect. Someone had actually dared to ambush Yang Chen at the entrance of the mysterious Heaven sect. How could he tolerate this? As long as he knew the identity of that guy, let alone his entire family, even the entire sect wouldn't be able to survive. The others didn't speak, but their expressions were very ugly. Head Lu of the Law Enforcement Hall had already made up his mind. After Yang Chen finished speaking, he would immediately send people to investigate all the cultivators who had appeared around the mysterious Heaven sect during this period of time. A peak Heaven Immortal expert. Yang Chen directly said the result. "Fortunately, I was prepared and carried the celestial eating insect with me, so I was able to survive." However, the celestial eating insect was seriously injured, and its strength was greatly reduced. As he spoke, Yang Chen revealed a distressed expression. It wasn't just the higher-ups of the mysterious Heaven sect. Basically, everyone in the spiritual world who knew what had happened in the gourd cave knew that Yang Chen had a Heaven Immortal level celestial eating insect. Now that they heard that even the celestial eating insect was seriously injured, everyone couldn't help but feel lucky that Yang Chen had been able to escape. "Did he leave any clues?" Head Lu asked coldly. "As long as we know any clues, the sect will chase him to the ends of the earth." "Thank you, Head." Yang Chen immediately bowed. He had a close relationship with Elder Li, so he didn't have to do this. But towards his own hall master, Yang Chen still maintained sufficient etiquette. "I am from the Zhao clan." I introduced myself, thinking that I wouldn't be able to escape, so I got carried away and revealed my identity. However, that guy didn't end up well either. He was assassinated by this disciple, and this disciple also found some clues about the Zhao family from him. As Yang Chen spoke, he had already taken the items from Zhao Qing's body. All of them were taken out. The items in the Qiankuan bag were placed on the ground one by one. This disciple was slightly injured and packed in a hurry, so I didn't have the time to analyze them carefully. I only know that he's from the Zhao family and his name is Zhao Qing. I don't know anything else. Everyone's eyes were attracted by the items on the ground, and they began to search through them one by one. There are a lot of things. Everyone looked very carefully. Who knew which item would have obvious clues left behind on it? It turns out that the battle not long ago was because of you. Hearing that the Zhao clan's experts had been killed, Hall Chief Lu suddenly realized something. The others also had a look of understanding. 2 months ago, everyone sensed that there were 2 Heaven Immortal experts fighting, and it wasn't far from the mysterious Heaven Sect's territory. Many people sensed that battle. However, when the mysterious Heaven Sect sent people over, they only saw traces of the battle, but they didn't find any corpses. Everyone had been puzzled, and now the truth was revealed. Are his injuries serious? Elder Li was concerned about Yang Chen's body, but it seemed that Yang Chen was fine. Will there be any future problems? It's just a small injury. This disciple has a healing pill, and he will recover in a few days. Yang Chen explained. This dispelled Elder Li's worries, and at the same time, explained the reason why he was late. This was related to the mysterious Heaven Sect's mortal enemy, the Zhao family. This ancient and secretive family might even be the culprit behind the extermination of the mortal world's Taishanmen. All the higher-ups were carefully searching for clues. Since Yang Chen was fine, there was no need to be so nervous. Everything was focused on finding clues about the Zhao family. Bastard! So you were hiding here? Very soon, an elder cried out in surprise. Everyone's attention was immediately drawn to the Yuxian Temple. Yuxian Temple? Sect Master Wang took a jade slip from the elder and began to read it. The jade slip recorded some secret codes and methods to control the Yuxian Temple, as well as some instructions to the Yuxian Temple. The completion of the mission of the Yuxian Temple was recorded clearly. Some things obviously had some regional characteristics. Even if they couldn't tell much, they could still find more clues if they continued to investigate. Since the other party had already exposed the Yuxian Temple, they could definitely find a bigger fish by following this clue. Hall Master Lu, I'll leave it to you. Sect Master Wang just gave an indifferent order, but everyone could hear the excitement in his voice. After searching for so many years, they finally found a clue about the culprit who exterminated the mortal world's sect. We won't let any of them go. Hall Master Lu was also excited, and he didn't hide his murderous intent. An expert at the divine immortal realm rarely lost his composure like this. However, the other party was the culprit who exterminated his own sect in the mortal world. It was not easy to find a clue, so Hall Master Lu couldn't wait any longer. Other things still needed further investigation, but Sect Master Wang couldn't wait any longer. The people of the Yuxian Temple had to die. Their background had to be thoroughly investigated. The Zhao family had been mysterious for so long, and finally a corner of it had been dug out. They had to do it as soon as possible. Once the Zhao family found out that the expert at the divine immortal realm had died, they might cut off this clue. The earlier they made the arrangements, the better they would have the upper hand. Hall Master Lu left with a murderous intent. He believed that this time, it would be a mountain of bones and a sea of blood. The others temporarily stopped looking for more clues. With this most important clue, they would be able to find more clues. The rest would be left to the other ordinary elders to continue. It would take a long time to find the Zhao family, and it wasn't a temporary solution. Yang Chen, you have made a great contribution again. Sect Master Wang didn't hide his admiration for Yang Chen at all. This person was a disciple with a heart in the Han sect. Since he knew Sect Master Wang, he had always surprised him. Compared to some of the so-called core disciples in the sect, Sect Master Wang was many times more useful. The more Sect Master Wang thought about it, the happier he was. I just happened to be there. I don't dare to take credit for it. Yang Chen immediately expressed his attitude. If he didn't perform well now, how could he get more benefits? A contribution is a contribution. There are so many disciples in the sect, but none of them could find the Zhao family cautiously. After Sect Master Wang complained about the disciples in the sect, he sat down and asked Yang Chen, "If we can dig out the background of the Yuxian temple, you will have made the greatest contribution. What kind of reward do you want for this contribution?" Chapter 1700. Disciple only has one request. Yang Chen was not polite this time. He immediately put forward his own request. Even Elderly, who was next to him, didn't seem to see it. He directly opened his mouth. Elderly was also reminding Yang Chen out of goodwill. Yang Chen's performance in the previous few times was quite good. He knew when to advance and when to retreat, and didn't take credit for himself in the slightest, leaving a good impression in the hearts of the higher-ups. He was afraid that Yang Chen would become arrogant and lose his mind, saying something inappropriate. What he was afraid of happened. Yang Chen didn't even refuse and directly stated his request. Although he didn't know what he was asking for, this kind of performance would easily cause him to lose points in the eyes of the sect master and the other elders. Even if the reward promised by the sect master was more precious, it wouldn't be worth it. How could Yang Chen make such a miscalculation this time? Could it be that he felt that he relied on a sneak attack to get rid of a peak heaven immortal expert, so he became arrogant? But since Yang Chen had already spoken, Elderly couldn't stop him even if he wanted to. He could only use the most secretive method to give Yang Chen a look, hoping that Yang Chen could understand his meaning. "It's over." Yang Chen's disregard made Elderly's heart sink, but on the surface, he still had to maintain his composure. Since things had already come to this, there was no point in stopping him anymore. He could only take one step at a time and see if he could help Yang Chen cover up his words, so that his performance wouldn't be so bad. If there's a chance to capture the core figures of the Zhao clan alive, Disciple pleads Sect Master to leave one for Disciple no matter what. Disciple will personally cut him into pieces to comfort Master Li's soul in heaven. Yang Chen's words already carried a sense of gnashing his teeth. His face was filled with uncontrollable excitement. No matter what, leave one for Disciple. Disciple is willing to use all the credit to exchange for this grace. Yang Chen's performance was definitely at the level of a best actor. As he spoke, the expression on his face, the tone of his mouth, and even his eyes were filled with an indescribable anger and sadness. Anyone who heard Yang Chen's words couldn't help but empathize with him. His nostalgia for his master and hatred for the Zhao family were vividly displayed in front of the higher-ups of the mysterious heaven sect. Looking at Yang Chen's eyes, sect leader Wang's heart was stirred. How could he bear to say no? The other elders were similarly moved. With such a disciple and such a request, who could bear to refuse? How many disciples in the sect, who had been nurtured with great effort, could perform as well as Yang Chen? The stone in Elder Li's heart had completely fallen to the ground. Yang Chen really did not let him down. How was this arrogance due to being favored? This was clearly placing the sect above everything else. If Yang Chen could show such sincerity for Master Li in the mortal world today, he would be able to go through fire and water for Elder Li in the spiritual world in the future. All right. This old man approves of this request. Sect leader Wang didn't say anything else and almost guaranteed Yang Chen, "As long as we can catch them, we will definitely keep them for you. Aren't you an executioner? I'll leave them all to you to execute." "Thank you, sect leader, for your grace." Yang Chen immediately thanked him. If he didn't show his respect for his master now, when would he be able to show it? In any case, he only needed to put on a show here in the mysterious heaven sect. Could it be that the elders present would really forget about his reward? Even if the other elders were willing, Elder Li would definitely not be willing. This is the sect leader's grace, not a reward for your meritorious service. Sure enough, Elder Li was next to him and said the words that the sect master had promised to follow Yang Chen's words, and said that it was a grace. Since it was a grace, it wasn't a reward, so he still had to give it a reward. Tell me, what kind of reward do you want? Sect leader Wang didn't think there was anything wrong with Elder Li's words. If he treated this as a reward, then it would be a sign of muddle-headedness. How could sect leader Wang make such a mistake? Disciple asks sect leader to give disciple some books from the sect. This was the second time that sect master Wang asked Yang Chen to talk about the reward. Yang Chen, of course, would not continue to pretend, and immediately climbed up the pole and said, "This disciple does not want to practice the classics, just some leisure books and miscellaneous notes, to open my eyes." Approved. The sect leader directly agreed without thinking. The Mysterious Heaven sect had a lot of miscellaneous books, and this disciple was famous for liking to read these kinds of books. Even in the mortal world, he had a reputation for collecting all kinds of miscellaneous books. His request was not surprising at all. You can spread the news that you exchanged for it with pills. This was killing two birds with one stone. First, it was really what Yang Chen wanted, and second, it was a smokescreen for the other sect. This way, even though the relationship between Yang Chen and the Mysterious Heaven sect was not very good and could even be considered antagonistic, with this kind of business relationship and the fact that Tao Junqi and Yang Chen were husband and wife, it was not surprising that Yang Chen wasn't embarrassed. From today onwards, increase Tao Junqi's share by 5 times and allow her to choose a treasure from the sect's bountiful treasure pavilion. Yang Chen had spoken, and the sect had agreed. However, the sect leaders still felt that some miscellaneous books were not enough to make up for Yang Chen's contribution this time. Fortunately, Yang Chen had a concubine in the Mysterious Heaven sect, so it was the same to give her benefit. After all, husband and wife were one. The elders had no objections to the sect leader's arrangements. Yang Chen thanked the sect leader on behalf of Tao Junqi again. Then, under Elder Li's urging, he carefully explained his whereabouts in recent years. In fact, this was nothing. In everyone's eyes, Yang Chen had done nothing but alchemy in the past few years. This was irrefutable evidence from the number of 5 revolution marrow pill and 4 revolution appearance pill that Wanbao Tower had taken out. On the other hand, there were mortal disciples ascending from Chunyang Palace almost every once in a while, which was very exciting. For the time being, the Mysterious Heaven sect did not need Chunyang Palace to do anything. They just needed to develop in peace. The current situation in Chunyang Palace was indeed like this, so there was basically no need for special instructions. When Tao Junqi learned of the sect leader's decision from Yang Chen, she was very happy. She didn't know what kind of deal her husband had made with the sect, but the benefits fell on her. Over the years, Tao Junqi had clearly felt the change in her status in the sect, and she was even more loyal to Yang Chen. On the surface, the relationship between Yang Chen and the Mysterious Heaven sect was the worst. Therefore, Yang Chen left the Mysterious Heaven sect under Tao Junqi's reluctant gaze after staying here for a few days. This time, Yang Chen basically came out to promote the appearance pill. Then, he rushed back to Chunyang Palace and announced that he would refine elixirs in seclusion. The reason why he was so anxious was that Yang Chen noticed that Master Wang of Blessing Gathering Building finally had results in refining the dragon grass. It was time to know what Master Wang wanted to do. Chapter 1701. Yang Chen could know to what extent Wang Dongzhu had refined the dragon entwining grass vine, because Yang Chen himself left a secret spiritual awareness imprint in the dragon entwining grass vine. This imprint was very clever. It was left by Yang Chen after using the 3 purities secret art as a reference to the spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method. Generally speaking, ordinary people could not find this spiritual awareness imprint. However, there was an exception, that was, this imprint could not be refined for a long time. No matter how hidden the spiritual awareness imprint was, in the long-term sacrificial refining process, there would always be a little clue that would be discovered. Unsurprisingly, when Wang Dongzhu's sacrificial refining reached a certain point, he found this secret spiritual awareness imprint. However, Wang Dongzhu himself was not surprised at all. If there was no spiritual awareness imprint on this dragon entwining grass vine, it would be a real problem. If there was a spiritual awareness imprint, it showed that Yang Chen had suspected from the beginning what he was going to do with this dragon entwining grass vine. He also wanted to rely on this spiritual awareness imprint to find his whereabouts. Unfortunately, in this kind of magic weapon sacrificial refining process, there were not many spiritual awareness imprints that could escape without being discovered. In this regard, Sect Master Wang was very proud. At first glance, Yang Chen looked like a novice. He only had a trivial human immortal cultivation base. He did not know where he learned some superficial spiritual awareness secret technique. He could escape the initial spiritual awareness inspection, but he could not escape the intensive offensive of the magic weapon refining later. Once the careful arrangements went down the drain, Wang Dongzhu could imagine what kind of dejected look Yang Chen had now. When the spiritual awareness imprint left by Yang Chen was destroyed, Yang Chen also knew to what extent Wang Dongzhu had refined the dragon entwining grass vine. Of course, Yang Chen would not lose his surveillance of Wang Dongzhu. In fact, in addition to the spiritual awareness imprint left on the dragon entwining grass vine, Yang Chen also secretly left two on Wang Dongzhu's body. One was placed on the roots of Wang Dongzhu's hair, which he rarely noticed, and the other was placed on his eyebrows, which Wang Dongzhu also didn't care about. These two imprints were left during the face-to-face discussion with Wang Dongzhu. At that time, Yang Chen deliberately showed that he was abiding by the agreement. After Wang Dongzhu saw the dragon entwining grass vine, he lost his composure a little. In that very short gap that Wang Dongzhu did not notice, Yang Chen cleverly left behind two spiritual consciousness imprints. Regardless of whether the spiritual consciousness imprints on the dragon winding grass vines were destroyed or not, these two imprints were still there and could still tell Yang Chen the location of Wang Dongzhu. When Yang Chen left the Black Heaven sect, the higher-ups of the Black Heaven sect finally discovered what Yang Chen really wanted to leave for them. Zhao Qing's Cosmos sac contained some of his own cultivation experiences, including his understanding of his various array formations. Speaking of which, these were just some of Zhao Qing's cultivation experiences. Every cultivator would have a similar record. Zhao Qing was an array cultivator, so he dabbled in all kinds of array formations. In order to deepen his own cultivation, he would even search for various ancient array formations to study. Zhao Qing was an array cultivator, so he dabbled in all kinds of array formations. In order to deepen his own cultivation, he would even search for various ancient array formations to study. The reason why he was able to find the hiding place of the Earth Dragon was because of this habit. He found clues from an ancient jade slip that recorded array formations. As an array cultivator, he certainly would not miss the Heaven and Earth Everlasting Origin Suppression Great Array announced by the Black Heaven sect in the spiritual world. He even studied the special array eye that led to the destruction of the Taishanmen. Arranging a small-scale Heaven and Earth Everlasting Origin Suppression Great Array was really not a big deal for an expert of this level. Yang Chen did a little trick on the jade slip that recorded the Heaven and Earth Everlasting Origin Suppression Great Array. In fact, he replaced the jade slip with a more ancient jade slip that was more than 10,000 years old. Relying on the powerful spiritual sense of the three purities secret art, the content of the spiritual sense engraved on the new jade slip was forcibly moved to the old jade slip, that was all. However, with this change, the nature of the matter had changed completely. It turned out that the Black Heaven sect had conducted research after announcing the array, but now it had become that they had studied this array a long time ago, but they had kept it a secret and even found the special array eye. The special array Eye of the Heaven and Earth Everlasting Origin Suppression Great Array was one of the reasons for the destruction of the Taishaman in the mortal world. The Devil Heart Sutra was another. Therefore, everyone in the Black Heaven sect attached great importance to any clues related to the Heaven and Earth Everlasting Origin Suppression Great Array. A jade slip that was more than 10,000 years old recorded the special array Eye. What else could this mean? If the Black Heaven sect was 80% suspicious of the Zhao family before, then now it had become 100%. Not to mention that Yang Chen, a little human immortal junior, couldn't fake it. Even the supreme profound immortal elders of the sect couldn't fake the jade slip so flawlessly. This jade slip could only be real, then the destruction of the Taishaman in the mortal world was completely related to the Zhao family. What happened later had little to do with Yang Chen. It was the business of the Black Heaven sect. Yang Chen was only responsible for delivering the things. As for the authenticity of the things, Yang Chen didn't have the ability to fake them. Moreover, in Zhao Qing's Qianquan bag, there were a few things that did prove that Zhao Qing was indeed from the Zhao family and held a high position. This was enough, wasn't it? The alchemy master of Chunyang Palace, Yang Chen, went into seclusion again, and the news quickly spread. Everyone was looking forward to Master Yang Chen staying in seclusion for the rest of his life. When he had nothing to do, he would refine more 5 revolutions questioning inner heart pills, 5 revolutions marrow pills, 5 revolutions appearance pill, etc., so that Wanbao Tower would have an adequate supply. Many people were looking forward to the appearance of these pills. They were calculating their net worth at all times to see how many pills they could get. The more pills Yang Chen refined, the cheaper it would be. Master Yang, who was the focus of attention, was working hard on alchemy as everyone wished. At the same time, he was also working hard to improve his alchemy level, preparing to break through the bottleneck of a 6th-grade alchemy master at any time. When Lu Xiang, an ordinary disciple of Chunyang Palace, left Chunyang Palace, he once again succeeded in making everyone not pay attention to him. After strolling casually in the market of Sunset Rock and buying some dispensable things, Lu Xiang left Sunset Rock without anyone noticing and embarked on his journey to gain experience. Yang Chen's goal this time was very clear, which was to keep an eye on Wang Dongzhu's movements. As long as he followed him, he wouldn't have to worry about finding the place where Wang Dongzhu used the dragon entwining grass vine. Perhaps, if he was lucky this time, he would be able to see a living dragon in the spiritual world. After all, a dead dragon did not need to be dealt with by the dragon entwining grass vine, and apart from dealing with dragons, the dragon entwining grass was useless against other monsters. Chapter 1702. Yang Chen was very clear about Wang Dongzhu's cultivation base, so Yang Chen also had a general estimate of what stage he would be able to destroy the spiritual awareness imprint he left. When the spiritual awareness imprint was destroyed, it meant that Wang Dongzhu would soon complete the refining. This kind of secret thing, Yang Chen firmly believed that Wang Dongzhu would not let anyone else know. Therefore, as long as he followed the position of Wang Dongzhu, the 2 spiritual awareness imprints on Wang Dongzhu's body, even if the one at the root of the hair disappeared because of hair growth or other reasons, the one on the eyebrows would remain for a long time. Wang Dongzhu, that person, was not a person who trimmed his eyebrows. Wang Dongzhu's location was very secretive, in a mountain that was inaccessible. Yang Chen only carefully approached about 100 miles and hid his figure. Further ahead, it was the warning array arranged by Wang Dongzhu. If he was not careful, he would be discovered by Wang Dongzhu and fall short of success. Yang Chen did not need to take this risk to explore now. This was just a secret place to refine magic weapons. It was absolutely impossible to have a place where the Dragon Clan was hiding. What was the specific situation inside, Yang Chen did not care. Within 100 miles, there was no trace of dragon chi. It was impossible to have a real dragon clan hiding. In the mountainside, there was a camouflaged cave. The entrance of the cave was sealed by a boulder, and the outside was also arranged with a formation. Even if one stood on the top of the mountain and explored with spiritual awareness, it was impossible to find a cave here. Wang Dongzhu was staying alone in this cave at the moment, completing the final step of the sacrificial refining of the dragon grass vine. Yang Chen's estimation was very accurate. At this time, it was almost the end stage of his refining of the magic weapon. As long as the dragon grass was refined, Wang Dongzhu's work would be half completed. The rest was to go to that place and then capture the dragon and let him do whatever he wanted. When he thought of the realm he could reach after completing it, even the knowledgeable Wang Dongzhu's body trembled slightly. Old dragon, if you encounter the dragon grass, what is the first thing you do? Yang Chen was now hidden 100 miles away, and he was not idle, but began to communicate with the dragon spirit in the profound spirit furnace. Dragon entanglement grass? How do you know about this kind of thing? After so many years of nourishment in the profound spirit furnace, the dragon spirit has basically fully recovered. When he heard Yang Chen mention the dragon entanglement grass, he immediately exclaimed and asked a question instead of answering. Someone gave me a strange seed and told me to stimulate it. Yang Chen replied casually, I didn't know what it was at first, so I planted the seed. Then, I realized that it looked like the legendary dragon coiling grass. Yang Chen did not answer how he knew about the dragon coiling grass, but the question he asked made the dragon spirit tremble with fear. Even though it was a spirit, it could not change its instinctive fear. Why don't you just destroy it? The dragon spirit's voice gave Yang Chen a feeling of hysteria. It sounded like the dragon race was not just afraid of the dragon coiled grass, but also disgusted by it. I just want to know, I used the maximum spiritual power that the seed could accept to nourish the dragon coiling grass for 100 years before it germinated. The tip part of which is 1 foot thick and 20 feet long. What kind of strength can it deal with? Yang Chen didn't care much about the emotions of the dragon spirit. This was not something that Yang Chen could make the dragon spirit calm down with a few words, so Yang Chen directly asked the question he wanted to know. Hearing this question, the dragon spirit roared more and more, but it was just a venting roar for a while, and finally quieted down. The dragon spirit was in a spirit body state, and it was impossible to show up by himself. If he wanted to solve the trouble of the dragon coiling grass, he needed Yang Chen's help. Therefore, helping Yang Chen correctly analyze the ability of the other party was the most important thing he should do now. Just germinated? The dragon spirit thought carefully for a moment and asked again to confirm. Just germinated. Yang Chen gave a very affirmative answer. After thinking about it, he still talked about the performance of the seed in the medicine garden and the dragon palace before it germinated. That's okay. As long as it hasn't germinated, it can't grow in power. After listening to this, Lingling didn't feel very worried. She temporarily fell silent and began to silently calculate in her heart. Maybe it can only deal with a small dragon. After thinking for a long time, the dragon spirit finally spoke, but there was still a hint of hesitation in its tone, or it can be an old dragon. Yang Chen understood what the dragon spirit meant. The small dragon wasn't strong, and the old dragon it mentioned was definitely the kind of old dragon that was near the end of its lifespan, and its strength had greatly decreased. Maybe it's a severely injured dragon in the prime of his life. Yang Chen added to the dragon spirit. To be honest, Yang Chen wasn't surprised at all. If the dragon coiling grass that had just germinated could deal with a dragon in the prime of his life, then the dragon coiling grass wouldn't have been almost extinct by the dragon race. It could only deal with weak small dragons and dragons that were on the verge of death. That was normal. That's right, one that was severely injured and on the verge of death. The dragon spirit admitted what Yang Chen said, but it still added the adjective of being on the verge of death. But after saying that, the dragon spirit was stunned for a moment, and then it didn't speak again. Whether it was a seriously injured and dying dragon or a newly born dragon, As long as it was not an old dragon that was about to die, it meant that it was the most suitable body for him to possess. It had always been in the state of a spirit body. Although it relied on the medicinal power and fire seed in Yang Chen's profound spirit furnace to recover to its strongest state, after all, the dragon spirit had no body. Yang Chen said that once he met a suitable body, he would give him a chance to possess it. Could it be that the opportunity was right in front of him? At this moment, the dragon spirit could no longer calm down. As long as he had a body, with his hundreds of thousands of years of experience in the Langya well, and the memories and experiences of the cultivators who were burned to death by the spirit-devouring dragon fire, it would not be difficult for him to restore his strength to his heyday. He could even easily enter the earth immortal and heaven immortal realm. It must be known that he was the most unique dragon in the world. Was it appropriate to do so? That was his own clan. Could it be that he was going to be possessed by himself? From a moral point of view, it was not right to do so, but the temptation of having a body made the dragon spirit couldn't help but think in that direction. For a time, the dragon spirit was also caught in a dilemma. On the one hand, the dragon spirit hoped that the fellow who might be dealt with would be safe and sound. On the other hand, it hoped that Wang Dongzhu's plan could succeed. These two thoughts had been lingering in the heart of the dragon spirit. Even if there was really a dragon body, if it was not a fire dragon, could he still successfully possess it? Could he still recover to his heyday after the possession? It was full of questions. Chapter 1703. Wang Dongzhu finally completed the refinement. The dragon-entangled grass vine, which was more than 200 feet long, was refined into an inconspicuous noose by Wang Dongzhu. On one side, there was a large noose that could be used to trap the target according to the owner's will. On the other side, there was a small buckle that could be fastened to the wrist or even the waist after enlarging to prevent it from falling out. After fastening the small buckle to the wrist, Wang Dongzhu casually shook his hand. The noose seemed to come to life. It instantly enlarged and accurately hooked onto a stalactite not far away. The noose tightened and the stalactite was snapped. The noose quickly returned to Wang Dongzhu's hand and shrunk into a ball. It looked like a delicate bracelet. Wang Dongzhu was very satisfied with his own work. He was very clear that this magic treasure could most likely only be used once. After using it, it could not be taken out casually. Once he got close to the dragon clan, this bracelet refined from the dragon-entangled grass vine would definitely make the dragon clan treat him as a mortal enemy. After the refinement was completed, Wang Dongzhu did not immediately rush to work. Instead, he forced himself to calm down and meditated for a whole 3 days. On one hand, it was to calm his agitated emotions. On the other hand, it could be considered as a solid rest by relying on the 3 days of meditation. No matter what he did, he needed a clear mind and sufficient physical strength. Since he had been planning for tens of thousands of years and generations, he was not in a hurry. After resting, Wang Dongzhu began to check the things on his body one by one. These were the early preparations that had been accumulated over several generations. They couldn't afford to fall short of success at the last step. Therefore, Wang Dongzhu checked very carefully. Almost every item had to be refined and maintained from head to toe to ensure that nothing went wrong. The more he was at the critical juncture, the more he could not be impatient. For so many years, Wang Dongzhu knew the benefits of doing business in Blessing Gathering Pavilion and doing other things. When people spoke highly of a person, they liked to describe him as calm in the face of major event. This was the reason. Just this preparation alone, Wang Dongzhu did it unhurriedly for a whole month. He even prepared the maintenance tools and his own meditation. He pushed his energy to the peak before setting off. Yang Chen, who was 100 miles away, finally sensed Wang Dongzhu's movement. However, Yang Chen was not in a hurry to catch up. Instead, he stayed in place and quietly sensed the direction of Wang Dongzhu's movement. As long as they were within 2,000 miles, Yang Chen could easily and accurately locate Wang Dongzhu. There was no need for him to get close to him and be discovered. Wang Dongzhu was very cautious. Even though the location he chose was very secretive and allowed him to safely refine the dragon entanglement grass here for dozens of years, he still didn't let his guard down. From the moment they left the cave, apart from carefully concealing themselves, they had basically been running in circles. Yang Chen wasn't in a hurry. He had enough patience to wait for Wang Dongzhu. Therefore, he didn't move until Wang Dongzhu was 5,000 li away from him. Only then did Yang Chen slowly chase after him. Within 2,000 miles, Yang Chen could accurately pinpoint the other party's position. Within 2,500 miles, Yang Chen could easily pinpoint the other party's direction. As long as the direction was right, Yang Chen would be able to slowly catch up. Wang Dongzhu circled around a continent in the spiritual world for 3 months. It wasn't until Wang Dongzhu felt that he was no longer being followed that he rushed to a deserted seaside and plunged into the sea. 3 days later, not far from where Wang Dongzhu entered the sea, Wang Dongzhu's figure appeared under the sea like an illusion. No one could see his figure, but he could see everything around him. 3 days passed, and he didn't see any cultivators coming here. He could conclude that no one was following him. Then Wang Dongzhu silently hid in the sea for 5 days. Relying on a magic weapon that could hide his figure in the water and hide his spiritual sense, Wang Dongzhu stayed in the sea for 8 or 9 days. Finally, he was sure that no one was following him. Until this moment, Wang Dongzhu let out a long sigh. The magic weapon pushed away the seawater and slowly sank to the bottom of the sea. It quickly left towards the east. When Wang Dongzhu was thousands of miles away from the coast, the figure of Yang Chen appeared on the beach. With a mocking sneer, Yang Chen jumped into the sea without hesitation. Wang Dongzhu thought that as long as he hid his figure, he could make the people who were following him lose their vigilance and show up. However, he did not expect that Yang Chen had already planted a spiritual awareness imprint on him. Knowing that he had been wandering in that area, how could Yang Chen take the initiative to expose himself? After entering the sea, Yang Chen called out the shuttle. In the sea, for the time being, Yang Chen had not seen a magic weapon faster than the shuttle. Within a few days, Yang Chen pulled the distance between himself and Wang Dongzhu to within 2,000 miles. Being so close, Yang Chen was not worried about being discovered by Wang Dongzhu at all. Firstly, the shuttle and Yang Chen had enough stealth ability. Secondly, there were countless fierce sea beasts in the sea. It was impossible for Wang Dongzhu to distinguish one by one which was the sea beast and which was the cultivator. As long as Yang Chen tracked skillfully, there was no need to worry about being discovered. Wang Dongzhu and Yang Chen, one in the front and one in the back, hurried in the sea. After Wang Dongzhu confirmed that no one was following them, he was still a little impatient. After quickly making a big circle in the sea, he turned to the north. Yang Chen followed behind unhurriedly all the way to the north. There were some fierce sea beasts on the way. Even Wang Dongzhu, an Earth Immortal level cultivator, had to be careful to avoid them. In order not to alarm Wang Dongzhu, Yang Chen sometimes had to cooperate with the Earth Dragon, releasing the pressure of a powerhouse and the murderous aura of the Blood River in a short period of time to scare away the sea beasts. Only then could he continue to track. Rushing in the sea, they walked for half a year. Calculating the distance, it had exceeded millions of miles and was far away from the mainland. In the end, even the entire sea was frozen, and the shallower parts of the sea had been completely blocked by the sea ice. Yang Chen did not know how Wang Dongzhu found his target. Just this position alone could make countless cultivators flinch. Wang Dongzhu did not have a magic weapon that could hide his figure and shield his spiritual consciousness. Even if he had the cultivation of a heaven immortal, he could not come here at all. Finally, Wang Dongzhu's figure stopped and seemed to have reached the end. Yang Chen also stopped and hid in the deep sea. His spiritual consciousness wrapped the shuttle and waited quietly. Soon, a powerful spiritual consciousness swept over Yang Chen and the shuttle. Maybe it did not notice anything unusual here and quickly swept to other places. Chapter 1704. A powerful spiritual sense was at least at the level of a peak celestial immortal, and it could definitely detect any cultivator below the Supreme Xian immortal level. Even some Supreme Xian immortals who did not specialize in spiritual sense might not be able to escape the detection of spiritual sense. Yang Chen understood that this must be a magic weapon on Wang Dongzhu, just like the magic weapon of the Taishaman sect Master Li in the mortal world, which could greatly enhance the cultivation of spiritual sense. At a critical moment, it could definitely detect some enemies with bad intentions. Obviously, now was that kind of critical moment. The spiritual sense swept back and forth for thousands of miles, and almost all the sea beasts in the range were frightened by the spiritual sense of a peak celestial immortal, and rushed to escape into the distance. Yang Chen had been hiding in that corner, and with his spiritual sense protecting his body, he was not affected in the slightest. After feeling that Wang Dongzhu had no other movement, Yang Chen began to slowly chase in the direction of Wang Dongzhu. During the process, Yang Chen had been wrapping his body and the shuttle with his spiritual sense. He only walked forward for more than 1,000 miles, and the speed of the shuttle reached its maximum, but it entered the soil. There was actually a big island here. Yang Chen secretly released a few strands of spiritual sense, and roughly estimated that it was about a few hundred miles. Such a big island, strictly speaking, should be said to be a big reef, because the whole land was submerged under the sea level. Of course, there was no seawater here, only a large amount of sea ice. The whole world was a vast expanse of white. The land and the ice had been completely connected, and it would be impossible to clearly separate them with just spiritual sense exploration. Wang Dongzhu's figure had not moved for a long time, and Yang Chen carefully moved in the direction of Wang Dongzhu. During this period, he also secretly came out of the ice to take a few glances. It was a vast expanse of white, there was no other color, the world was completely covered with white ice. Other than white, there was only white. The further he went, the colder he felt. He did not know if it was an illusion of Yang Chen, but after walking for almost 100 miles, Yang Chen was already sure that it was not an illusion, but it was really getting colder and colder. Even with Yang Chen's cultivation, he still felt cold. One could imagine how low the temperature here was. Moving forward, Yang Chen had no choice but to circulate the great yin-yang 5 elemental arts to the extreme to ensure that he would not freeze. If it was any colder, Yang Chen couldn't guarantee that Wang Dongzhu wouldn't notice him. Fortunately, he had the Earth Dragon bracelet with him. Even though the Earth Dragon was not intelligent enough, it was obedient. Furthermore, it was extremely powerful. With its help, Yang Chen could barely resist the increasingly cold temperature and slowly approach Wang Dongzhu. Finally, it was almost within 100 miles of Wang Dongzhu. Now the temperature had dropped to the limit that Yang Chen could bear. It was completely relying on the protection of the Earth Dragon, coupled with the yin-yang heaven-burning fire in Yang Chen's own body, that he could barely not expose his figure. Arriving here, Yang Chen had thoroughly understood why this place was so cold. On the huge reef under the sea, there was a huge array formation in operation. It was precisely because of this array formation that the whole place turned into an extremely cold place. Not to mention that Yang Chen was just a human immortal. Even if a celestial immortal master came over, without special protection, they would not be able to bear the consequences. However, this icy cold area was very introverted, less than 100 feet under the sea. It could not be felt at all. Even if one used their spiritual awareness to explore, their spiritual awareness would not feel cold. Therefore, this area could exist without being disturbed for many years. Perhaps this was the arrangement of the ancestors of Wang Dongzhu's family in the past. The front suddenly became empty. Yang Chen, who was walking through the rocks, almost rushed out and exposed his figure. Finally, He carefully controlled his forward momentum and was still hidden in the rock. The Earth Dragon was a master of the Earth attribute. It was not too difficult to control Yang Chen in the rocks and let him see the situation outside. The only thing to worry about was that Yang Chen could not be discovered by Wang Dongzhu. Fortunately, Yang Chen's spiritual awareness was strong enough. Soon, Yang Chen saw the situation inside. Wang Dongzhu was standing in a place not far in front of him. He was in a huge underground space. The space was very vast. Just the place that could be seen was hundreds of miles away. In front of Wang Dongzhu there was a huge and amazing piece of ice. It was crystal clear and constantly emitted a burst of piercing cold. The entire underground space was as bright as day. Not far from the huge ice there was a spring that was gurgling. However, it wasn't water or ice that was gushing out. Instead, it was dark red magma. No matter how cold the huge ice was, the magma spring did not solidify. From time to time, there were a few fire bubbles making a popping sound. The huge ice was the source of the cold that Yang Chen felt. Under the ice block, one could clearly see a series of formation engravings. It was this array that kept the huge ice in a frozen state. It even affected the surrounding hundreds of miles. On Wang Dongzhu's body, there was a set of red armor that was constantly flashing. Yang Chen was an expert in playing with fire. At a glance, he could see that it was a set of armor that was carefully refined by a fire cultivator to keep warm. The protective power of this armor was average. Its only function was to keep warm. Wang Dongzhu, with his earthly immortal cultivation, was not afraid of the cold here. It was all because of this armor. If Yang Chen was given enough time and materials, Yang Chen could also refine a set of clothes with the same effect. The effect might even be better than the one on Wang Dongzhu's body. Unfortunately, Yang Chen did not know that he would come to this place. There was no way that he could prepare so well. Wang Dongzhu, who was standing there, did not seem to be aware of the cold around him. His eyes were fixed on the huge ice. Following Wang Dongzhu's gaze, Yang Chen also looked into the huge ice. What he saw made Yang Chen, who had 10,000 years of memories from his previous life, stunned. The huge ice was almost completely transparent. At first, Yang Chen did not notice what was inside. Now, he realized that there was a long, fiery red figure in the innermost part of the huge ice. The figure was too big. He could not see it clearly. However, the part that Yang Chen could see clearly indicated the identity of the figure inside. It was a fiery red dragon head with a radius of a few miles. It was vivid and lifelike. From Yang Chen's direction, he seemed to be able to see the light emitting from the dragon's huge eyes. The fiery red figure extended beyond his line of sight. There was still no end to it. However, Yang Chen could imagine the complete body. A fiery red dragon was completely frozen in this huge block of ice. Thinking about the soaring dragon grass that Wang Dongzhu refined, Yang Chen could naturally come to a logical conclusion. This dragon was still alive. Chapter 1705. It could be said that it was completely beyond the expectations of Yang Chen. Wang Dongzhu really had a living dragon to capture. He didn't know how Wang Dongzhu or the ancestors of the Wang family found and subdued this dragon. Maybe it was not them who subdued it, and the dragon was sealed in the ice when they discovered it. But these were not important. The important thing was that Wang Dongzhu finally had a magic weapon to subdue this dragon. A living dragon was more valuable than a dead dragon, and it could even be said to be a difference of 10,000 times. It was not surprising that Wang Dongzhu wanted to capture this dragon alive. If it was Yang Chen, he would also be willing to find an opportunity to get a living dragon instead of a corpse. A fiery red dragon, if you look at it from the color alone, this was a fire dragon. The luck of the dragon spirit in the profound spirit furnace was really good this time. It was rare to have a dragon, and it actually matched its 5 elements attribute. It's just that Yang Chen still couldn't judge whether this was a young dragon or an old dragon. At this point, the future of the dragon spirit was still unknown. He didn't know what kind of master and power could actually freeze a fire dragon alive. Looking at the magma fountain next to it, this was simply a super crater most suitable for the survival of the fire dragon. But now this super crater was frozen by a formation, leaving only a spring with a radius of less than 2 feet. It could also show the scorching heat of the underground magma, but it could not have any impact on the ice block. This is the seal of the dragon clan itself. Everything Yang Chun saw was communicated with the dragon spirit in the profound spirit furnace with his spiritual awareness. Regarding the dragon clan, the dragon spirit must know more than Yang Chun. At this moment, he immediately passed an explanation. The dragon clan's own seal, Yang Chun breathed a sigh of relief, so it was easy to understand. As long as it was something made by the dragon clan, even if it was exaggerated, it could be accepted. Not to mention freezing a fire dragon, even a more outrageous one could be accepted. He didn't know what happened to this dragon, in short, it was frozen like this. Yang Chen couldn't see far enough, or there were still wounds on the dragon's body. The Wang family's ancestors were lucky and found this living dragon, so they spent generations searching for the dragon entanglement grass. When it came to Wang Dongzhu, not only did he have the seeds of the dragon coiling grass, but he also had Yang Chen's help to cultivate and germinate it. It could be said that everything was ready except for the east wind. Wang Dongzhu had already made his move. His hands were forming a series of hand seals. It could be seen that he was not very familiar with the way he performed the incantation. It was likely that he had not practiced it elsewhere. As one by one, the shining spells were inserted into the ice, Yang Chun finally saw the changes in the ice. To be more precise, it was the transformation of the formation beneath the ice. The array formation slowly stopped condensing ice, and began to slowly melt the ice. The huge block of ice was getting warmer and warmer, and was no longer as bone-chilling as before. Wang Dongzhu made a final hand seal, the lines on the ground flickered a few times, and then there was no more movement. Yang Chun could clearly see that all Wang Dongzhu had done was to turn off the formation on the ground. As long as the ice was no longer sealed by the formation, just the heat from the fire dragon's body would be able to slowly melt the huge block of ice. In addition, not only was the fire dragon's interior melting, but the area of the magma spring that was not completely sealed by the ice was also slowly expanding. The temperature of the underground space was also constantly rising. Everything was as Yang Chun expected. The block of ice began to change from the inside, and soon, traces of water began to appear on the ground. The water flowed to an unknown place along the lines of the formation. The ice was also slowly becoming smaller, and the ice walls were also becoming thinner. Under the attacks from both inside and outside, the ice kept melting into clear water. However, the ice was too thick, and it would take a long time for it to completely melt. Old dragon, if there is a chance, will you try to possess it? This time, Yang Chun asked the dragon spirit a very practical question, a question that would happen very soon. The dragon spirit had been conflicted for a very long time. It didn't know if it should do such a thing. On one side was its own kind, and on the other side was its own body. It seemed like an easy choice, but when it really had to face it, it was very difficult to harden its heart. I'll wait and see. The dragon spirit still didn't make a prompt decision. Instead, it decided to wait and see. If that dragon has a chance to survive, I'll wait a little longer. If it has no chance at all, I'll possess it. Although it seemed that the dragon spirit was still somewhat indecisive, Yang Chun had some admiration for him. To be able to resist the temptation of possessing a body under such circumstances was not something an ordinary cultivator could do. However, that damned guy actually has such an idea for the dragon race. You can't let him go. The dragon spirit still asked Yang Chun for help. As you said, if that dragon has a chance, we won't even need to do anything. Perhaps it will reap what it has sown. Yang Chun didn't directly agree to the dragon spirit's request. Instead, he transmitted this thought to it: if there's no chance you can possess it, you can do the rest yourself. At most, I can tell you how to break free from that dragon entanglement grass vine. When he knew that Wang Dongzhu might want to capture the dragon, Yang Chen realized that this might be an opportunity for the dragon spirit, which was why it followed him like this. Yang Chen wasn't that despicable to kill and rob the dragon spirit. Everything was up to the dragon spirit. In Yang Chen's own words, he didn't want to be involved in this. Every cultivator had their own bottom line. They could kill and rob, they could do all sorts of evil, as long as they believed that they were not doing anything wrong and that it wouldn't affect their Tao heart. Other than revenge, Yang Chen didn't think of anything else. The things that the Heavenly Court Immortals left behind for him were enough for Yang Chen's family to cultivate comfortably. There was no need for Yang Chen to do evil for these worldly possessions. Just like this incident, it might be an opportunity for the dragon spirit. Yang Chen promised to give the dragon spirit a chance to possess it. He was just fulfilling his promise. As for whether or not to possess it, that was the dragon spirit's own business. Yang Chen had done his part, the rest was not his concern. The dragon spirit also fell silent at this moment, quietly waiting for the situation to develop. Whatever Yang Chen saw, he would constantly inform the dragon spirit, allowing him to judge the situation in time. It took more than 10 days for the huge block of ice to melt. During these 10 days, the entire underground space had changed. Originally, it was covered in ice and white. Now, it had turned into the dark red of magma. It was as if it had turned into a world of flames in just a few days. The ice on the dragon's body finally disappeared completely. The frozen dragon let out a low roar, as if it was about to wake up.